I will now call the meeting at 6:08. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now ask for a moment of silence for those that are prisoners of war and missing in action. Thank you. Secretary Billups, I now ask for a roll call.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Thursday. Secretary Billups is here. Councilor Minnick.
Here.
Councilor Wagner, I believe, is excused. President Tunis.
Here.
Councilor Banto.
Yes.
Councilor Brandis. Here. Councilor Andrewsko is also excused. Councilor Wentz, I'm going to say that she's excused as well.
She may be on her way.
Maybe. Okay. Councilor Silva.
He may be on his way as well.
Okay. And Councilor Blackwell. Here. Thank you. And of course, we have our Honorable Mayor Ed Brown. We have Acting CAO Rita LaRue. We have Solicitor Kilkenny. We have our Chief Municipal Clerk Kate Doggett. And we have our department heads. And of course, we have our officers. I can't say Officer Bateman and Radar.
Garay.
Garay. And Officer Garay. And I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Huh? Monahan. Hi. And of course, we have all of you guys and ladies of Upper Darby. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. Residents, if we could just keep our phones on silence. Council members, too. We all keep our phones on silent. Rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of the business of the meeting. Any person who attends the meeting and makes remarks, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting after receiving a verbal warning may be required to leave the meeting at the discretion of the council president. Public forum should not exceed 30 minutes. If a resident chooses to ask questions, they are voluntarily given up their time for a response. This means that the 3-minute timer will continue to run no matter who is speaking. The timer will be clearly displayed on the screen to my left. Secretary Billups?
So the first person we have is John Pizzari.
Testing. Okay.
Can you just restart his time to 3 minutes, please?
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Back here again. So I want to ask this question, and it's just a clarifying question. Mayor, did you last night say that you weren't aware of what was going on with the plumbers? I know council members did say they had no notice, but did you happen to say that you weren't aware? Okay. Just wanted to clarify because I found it curious that Mr. Singh, you asked him to come up and speak, and he had a prepared statement, a very long prepared statement. So in my opinion, I would, for the counselors that said that you didn't know, I would blame the administration for not making you aware of this, because obviously he was aware of it since March, and he came prepared with a statement. So that's all I wanted to say about that. With regards to this special meeting date, Mayor, you have the right to present and participate in all council meetings as per the HRC. But to be clear, this is not your meeting. You don't control the meeting, although most of the time you tend to tell people to be quiet and you tend to tell them, so you try to control the meeting. It's interesting how you decided that this meeting to be held tonight was to accommodate your schedule, but you didn't take into consideration any other councilor member's schedule. I find this to be an important thing because the 5th district, which I reside in, is my district. And I don't have representation from that district. And I don't have all counselors who should be here to vote on an important replacement. So I just think it was, you didn't need to be here. You only needed to be here if it's a tie vote. We know it's not going to be a tie vote because this was decided before Heyman officially resigned. I'm going to rinse and repeat what I said last night, and let's be honest, the majority of this council already knew who you wanted to appoint before the public heard that Councilor Heyman was stepping down. You're going through the motions, inviting applicants and resumes, but only 5 residents applied, and you did not interview all of them, which is unacceptable. Every applicant should have had the chance to speak with you, either individually or in a panel session. Anything less is not a real process. It's just theater. The candidate that I believe you are poised to appoint tonight, Myron McNeely, elected constable in 2021. He's now in his 4th year of a 6-year term, but still hasn't passed the required state certification to perform his duties as of today. And there's proof to it. You can go on the Pennsylvania Commission of Crime and Delinquency site to verify that. That provides certification, which includes legal and firearms training and necessary, sorry, but
Thank you.
anyway, he's not qualified.
Next speaker.
Next is last name Gall.
I'm gonna wait till the public hearing. If you want to, thank you, John.
It is a public hearing. Okay. Oh. Next, we have John DeMasi.
Just building on what Mr. Vizari was saying, I really hope that tonight the council members listen to what's going to be presented. Too many times, you really have just been a rubber stamp, walking over the home rule charter, walking over laws, walking over statutes, without paying any heed to anything that's been said up here. One of the reasons we're here today was because that exact occurrence happened on September of last year when John Vizari stood up here, read the home rule charter, and everyone said, screw that, I'm voting yes. I sincerely hope that all of you listen to what will be read, what will be presented, and consider that in your vote. We all just assume, because this is all we've seen, that all of you take orders from up above. You never present anything contradictory, except for the one instance with the vote on the upcoming solicitor, and yet somehow we're going to be back to that solicitor. That's why that tells us someone got a favor. Mr. Brown would not represent this solicitor for another vote unless he was absolutely sure that he was going to get this passed. So I ask that everyone put aside their job aspirations, political aspirations, and put forward Upper Darby's aspirations and what is right for the people of Upper Darby. This community is headed to becoming Upper Chester. We have major problems, and they are not going to be fixed through graft, corruption, cronyism, hiring incompetent people, appointing the wrong people just because they're from the right party. Parties, doesn't matter what party, either party can completely destroy a town. We could go across history and show how both Republicans and Democrats screwed their own people. So I ask tonight, you put aside your D next to your name and put a UD next to your name. Think about the people that this tax is going to impact. Think about the people that don't have a fat health insurance plan. Although I was talking to the head of HR, and she's dynamite. Your head of HR here in Upper Darby is absolute dynamite. I would hope that you start taking direction from her, not the people up above. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is William Scott.
Good evening to the mayor and to the council. Thank you for this time. Obviously, I want to thank you for consideration for filling the vacancy for the 5th District Council seat. As I told you before during the interview, as an operations manager, as a former veteran who served in the war. As a leader, as a person who has worked their way up from a truck driver, as a teamster, a union player, to always be an operations manager and running trucking companies with terminals all across the US. And 3 major companies right now, both 2 of them food companies, and the Liquor Control Board of Pennsylvania being the first Black safety director for that position. I would like to extend that through bipartisanship, that I can come here and hopefully, if appointed, to help bring that kind of vision where we can bring ideas, trust, and unity back to this council to bring to the people that we humbly serve, that they would want to go and trust us again, that they know that we would have their best interests in heart, that we don't lord on high, but we serve with humility and humbleness to make to make this area, Upper Darby, a better place to live for all of us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Becky Duggan.
Good evening, tax spenders. And see, tonight you're going to try and get a whole bunch more of my money to spend on, I don't even know what. Streets are dirty. They're not safe. You can say we have enough police officers, but I don't say it. I know that upsets everybody. When I talk about public safety, I make everybody upset. Not criticizing the police officers, obviously. There's only so much that they can do. There's only so many hours in the day that they can be out there. We need more of them. Police officer was just shot outside Overbrook High School yesterday in Philadelphia. Do we want that to happen here? We need to have enough police officers so we can at least control dismissal time. Nobody likes I say that. That's too bad. I would not go walking through there at 3 o'clock or whatever time they now have school get out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 hours at school. I would not go walking through there at dismissal time for fear. The stores in Bond Shopping Center have to lock their doors because of it. That's going to cut down on your EIT and your business privilege taxes. The taxes you're going to get in because they can't keep the stores open. Stores in 69th Street are closing left and right. You have a plan, we have a plan, I don't see it. Nothing, I don't see anything come to fruition. The Drexel line, it's not full. It's extremely disappointing. I get up here and say these things at the meetings, and I know you all shake your head at me and poo-poo me. I'm a crazy person. But you have to think, for every person that says something, there's a marketing strategy. For every one person that says something, there's at least 50 or 20 behind them that think the same thing. So look behind it. How many people come up and say these things? There's residents at home that don't always show up here and say them, but they're there. Go on Facebook, read Facebook. We're not happy. People are planning on moving because they don't want to live here anymore. Drexel Hill should secede. I mean, for crying out loud, Drexel Hill supports so much. And what do they get for it? They don't get attention. They don't get a senior center. That got chopped because it wasn't in your vision. I don't even know what to say to you people. You're supposed to come here and you're supposed to represent. Michelle, you're supposed to represent the whole township. Do you represent the whole township?
Thank you. Next is Joanne Namabag.
So when I was here last night, I was really appalled at what I had to hear about the situation with the plumbers and Mr. Arminder Singh. So Mr. Singh made this change. Either he changed or he added to our administrative code. Our plumbing code was adopted by ordinance in 2004. Okay. He is not a council member. He doesn't have the authority to change it. He has the authority to enforce it, not to change it. And I find it, you all, or some of you, especially Mr. Jones, I guess, says, oh, Mr. Singh is going to be the best. He's going to more than pay for himself. Well, here's the thing. Mr. Singh is putting people out of work. You guys said last night that the plumbers already they're grandfathered in. They can't pull permits. Okay. They're not getting permits. And you can't, when you make a change, even if he could change it by himself, which he doesn't have the authority to do, he did not communicate. It was changed, he said, effective 1/1/25. Why did nobody know about it till March? Why is he holding this to himself? What is he trying to accomplish or to prove? Okay? It's not right. Whatever authority you've given him, it's not his authority. He doesn't have it. And it's so unprofessional. I mean, he comes up here, he's very soft-spoken, pretty well-spoken, except that he contradicted himself many, many times last night. But it's unprofessional to change a way you're going to do licensing and not communicate it to the licensees. I'm a CPA. If there's changes to the way, if like Pennsylvania changed their CPE requirement or something like that, they would tell me ahead of time. It's just, and then you say, Brian asked, can we have like a couple months to, where we can get it worked out? And you're like, no, okay? It's not, I don't even how you guys think, like, you don't care about anybody. You're putting these guys, you want their tax, they're not going to have any income.
Next is Judy Duggan.
All right, I'm going to continue this business. Mr. Singh, I like you personally. You're a nice guy, but what can I say? Have people been complaining about plumbing in this township? I haven't heard it. I don't know. One thing I've been hearing about is rental properties. That also falls under his purview. Now, I know for a fact that Upper Darby Township is not following their own rules for rental properties. They're supposed to be, I had a rental property, so I know the rules because I'm a big rule follower. I like to follow all the rules. It's true. It's true. Anyway, so, my neighbor is a rental property. I share a driveway with her. One of the rules for a rental property is you have to have covered trash cans. It's actually a rule for everybody in the township, but especially for rental properties. She does not. So because of that, I have trash all over my driveway, all over my lawn. I have all kind of vermin running past me as I come out of my house at night because she just throws her trash and the animals get into it, dig it out of the trash can and dump it everywhere. You have to inspect her house every year. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's checking on these things. I have people come check my rental property, but now nobody's checking the rental properties. Why don't you follow up on that instead, where people are actually being damaged in the township? Because this is not just me. There are many, many, many people who live near rental properties or live in rental properties, and the landlord is not doing what they're required to do. You come in here, well, back in the old days, you used to be able to go up to licenses inspection. They'll give you the form, tells you all the things you have to do for a rental property. So I went through, I checked each one, did each one, got all this right things. Now I don't know what happens, but I don't think anybody reports their rental properties, but you gotta do something about that. How about if you do that instead of trying to get rid of all the plumbers in the township? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Hoyt.
Some will taller than some others. Good evening, Nicholas Hoyt. First, thank you, Mayor Brown, for coming out to Jackie Robinson night. Councilman Andrusko for coming out for opening day. If anybody else was at either event, I apologize. So busy that it's nice to get a little tunnel vision. As most of you that may know me, I am involved with Drexel Hill Little League. We've had a couple events already. Tomorrow night, weather permitting, we have our League of Their Own night, where we'll honor the women in sport. And then come Memorial Day weekend, I would encourage everyone to come on out Saturday morning that weekend, as all of our players that day will be honoring on their backs some of the 300 sons of Upper Darby who were killed in action. Now, that's not what I came here for tonight. I grew up in this town, graduated Upper Darby in '99. And when I graduated, as a fan of history, I heeded George Washington's words to not pick a political party, right? I registered as an independent. Unfortunately, that very next election, I wanted John McCain as the president, and so I registered as a Republican. He lost. He didn't get into past the primary round. I never switched past that. I've been a Republican ever since. Kind of tend to be a bit more libertarian than most, but that's where I'm at. As the years went on, I found myself now a father, homeowner, about 8 years in. And as my kids are getting into school, there's a situation out front of my house. There's a domestic situation. Man knocks around his girlfriend. He's getting ready to leave. I find myself standing in front of his truck until the great men of Upper Darby police, men and women, came to arrest this man. And as my frustrations build, I'm like, well, what else? There's got to be something that could be done. I found myself getting involved with Garrettford's Home and School, ultimately Drexel Hill Little League. And then as 2017 came around, I found myself getting engaged with some folks who were in the politics. We were looking at something that was needed for position, completely naive to how divisive politics could be even at this level. So sure, and I ran. I didn't realize the numbers would be as broad as they were, 7-2, Democrat to Republican at that time. I came away with a third of the vote. I'm going to run out of time. I came away with a third of that vote. I was pretty proud of myself, but it was quite apparent there was no shot that a Republican would win in a Democrat-heavy seat. I wasn't going to give it a shot. When this came around, I was like, you know what? All the stuff I've done in the community, and for those who've seen the resume, Little League, Hometown Hero banners, Westbrook Park Youth, cleanups, and so on. Hopefully this could be a bipartisan little stopgap for the next 6 months until we have a successor elected. April 10th, I got an email reply saying, thanks, but no thanks. We're not interested in an interview. That was the last communication I'd heard from anybody on the topic until somebody notified my mom, who, being a mom, got a little mama bear, got upset, came to me, said, have you heard anything? And I apologize, I know I'm past my time. But that my name was on the agenda. So tonight I have batting practice. I brought him with me. I had to stop and miss it because I wanted to see, hey, my name's on the agenda for a township, yet nobody, and I know people have my contact info, nobody said anything. And that's extremely disappointing. I know you have a time limit, not just with this, but to get it in,
Yeah.
but it's
I just wanna
disappointing.
All right, thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, all the speakers. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 1225, approving the appointment of the 5th District council member. Is there a motion on the floor to open
make
up
a mo- I like-
nominations?
Yeah.
Is there a motion on the floor to open up nominations for the 5th District vacancy? Motion made by Councilor Blackwell.
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor Minnick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The floor is open for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Justine Mays.
I'll second that.
Is there any other nominations on the floor?
I make it,
Motion to nominate Myron McNeely.
I'll second it.
All right. Are there any motions on the floor for any other applicants? Are there any motions on the floor for any other applicants? Are there any motions on the floor for any other applicants? Seeing none, I'll now ask for a motion to close nominations.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Brandon, seconded by Councilor Banto. The first motion on the floor would be to vote in for Ms. Justine Mays to fill the 5th District vacancy. Motion made by Councilor Wentz, seconded by Councilor Silva. Can I have a roll call vote for Ms. Justine Mays as to fill the 5th District vacancy?
So this is for Fifth District Council open position, and the first candidate is Justine Mays.
Yay would be for Justine Mays to fill the vacancy. No would be for Ms. Mays to not fill the vacancy.
Secretary Billups is a no. Councilor Minnick,
No.
Councilor Wagner is excused. President Tunis,
No.
Councilor Banto,
No.
Councilor Brannis,
No.
Councilor Andrewsko is excused. Councilor Wentz,
Yes.
Councilor Silver,
Yes.
and Councilor Blackwell.
No.
Okay, so we have not filled the Fifth District vacancy. The next roll call vote would be to vote in Mr. Myron McNeely as to fill the Fifth District vacancy. Motion made by Councilor Minnick, seconded by Councilor Brannis. I'm sorry, Councilor Blackwell, I believe. I apologize. Motion made by Councilor Minnick, seconded by Councilor Blackwell. Can we just kind of keep it down, please? Like, Secretary Billups?
Okay,
So this would be for Myron
Myron
McNeely to
McNeely.
fill the Fifth District vacancy. Yay to fill it, nay for him to not fill it.
Secretary Billups is a yes. Councilor Minnick,
Yes.
Councilor Wagner is excused. President Tunis,
Yes.
Councilor Banto,
Is a yes.
Councilor Brannis,
Yes.
Councilor Andrewsko is also excused. Councilor Wentz? No. Councilor Silva?
No.
No. No. I didn't have my mic on.
Okay, and Councilor Blackwell?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The vote is 6-2. Mr. McNeely is voted in to fill the vacancy. We'll now have Mayor Ed Brown administer his oath to be sworn in.
Good, how you doing? So you're gonna speak into the mic. Repeat after me. Ready?
Yep.
You ready?
Yes, Mayor Brown to administer the oath.
Repeat after me. This is the affirmation of the oath of office and code of ethics of the Upper Darby Township, State of Pennsylvania, County of Delaware. I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United
of
States,
the United States,
the Constitution
the Constitution
of this Commonwealth,
of this Commonwealth,
the Home Rule Charter,
the Home Rule Charter,
and the provisions
and the provision
of the Administrative Code,
of the Administrative Code.
that I will discharge the duties
I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
with fidelity,
with fidelity.
that I will not knowingly
I will not knowingly
receive,
receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
of other valuable things
for the performance
for the performance
or non-performance
or non-performance
of any act
of any act
or duty
or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office
other than compensation
other than conversation
allowed by law.
allowed by law.
Congratulations. You are appointed.
Thank you.
McNeely, you can take a seat here. We will adjust the seating of the future meeting. Yeah. For the members of the public, Mr. McNeely has just signed some documents to officially have him fill the vacancy. So we'll just give him a second to do that.
Say something real quick.
Yes, I will yield the floor to Mayor Ed Brown.
So for Mr. William Scott, Justine Mays, Jennifer Brittis, and Nick Hoyt, who I do know, please stay involved. And I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Scott. I would love to meet you and learn more about you. And also Justine Mays. So thank you.
Okay. That being said, we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is ordinance number 3189, implementation of earned income tax. A public hearing, a request for council to approve ordinance 3189. Prior to the public hearing, if we can just have a summary of it for the public before the hearing, and then I'll ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Before the public hearing begins, I would like to make two small amendments or suggest two small amendments to the ordinance for clarification purposes. It was recommended by Keystone that in the last paragraph, where it says further provided, however, that pursuant to the Local Tax Enabling Act 53 PS 309 should read further provided, however, that pursuant to the Local Tax Enabling Act PS 53 6924.309. It was recommended to us that this would provide clarity in the ordinance as we move forward. Also in the same paragraph, last line, adoption of this ordinance, it was recommended that we add adoption of this ordinance and shall not be imposed until July 1st, 2025.
We will,
May I make one more clarification?
yeah, sorry.
Yes, thank you. Also, prior to introducing our subject matter experts who are here tonight to answer questions during the public hearing, it is the intention to request a exemption of the earned income tax for those making less than $12,000 to be effective January 1st, 2026. So if any members of the public have questions about that particular item, our subject matter experts are here to answer questions about that and anything else on the earned income tax. I would now like to introduce the subject matter experts.
Yes, if they could take a seat here.
You'll come
And then-
forward.
Yes, and then we will head into the public hearing. Well, a motion for.
Joseph Lazaro serves as Vice President for Law and Communications at Keystone Collections Group, a premier tax administration firm in Pennsylvania. Joe is a 1982 graduate of Upper Darby High School. He then went to Penn State for his undergraduate degree and then to Pitt Law School. He now manages Keystone's considerable legal interests in local tax law compliance, delinquent collection and recovery, intellectual property protection, personnel, and government relations. He has prosecuted hundreds of tax cases in the state, federal, and the appellate courts. He is admitted before the bars of Pennsylvania and the United States Supreme Court. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Thank you.
Gordon Mann is a managing director at Public Financial Management, which has worked with Upper Darby on the earned income tax from the perspective of its impact on the township's financial performance. PFM provided a projection for potential EIT revenue in 2023 and explained how implementing the EIT would help improve the township's overall financial performance. PFM has presented its analysis at multiple community feedback and township council meetings. PFM also authored the multi-year financial plan released in 2023 for Upper Darby and leads similar financial planning engagements across Pennsylvania. Thank you for being here, Gordon.
Thank you. And thank you for the introduction. I'll now ask for,
Point of order.
what's the point of order?
The amendments that Ms. Rita LaRue read off were shared on the ordinance prior to the council meeting. It was shared on the website. The one that was approved by council for introduction and advertisement is the one that did not include those amendments, but yet what was posted to the public, it did have those amendments that she just read on it and is what was handed to us tonight. However, there was no clarification, and it's a council action to add amendments to any ordinance, not the action of a acting CAO. It's a council meeting. Council members are the legislative body of this government. This is the one that was approved and introduced by the majority of council, you all, not me. I voted no. But this is the one that was put out there with changes on it that had not been brought forth to this council and had not been approved by this council with these changes. Point of order.
Just Solicitor Gallagher, can you just clarity on the changes?
Okay. Ultimately, you have the authority on the point of order because that is an objection. You're the council president. But regarding the changes, they are minor changes. They're not substantive. So there's nothing that.
You got it.
All right, this is the only warning, okay? Everyone's gonna have the floor. I'm trying to make this a very civil meeting. Please give each speaker this respect. Mr. Gallagher has the floor.
There's nothing that would require delay in moving forward tonight based on those two amendments only.
Those were
The ones that Ms. LaRue mentioned. The third one isn't for consideration tonight. That would be substantive, and we could not address that tonight if we wanted to take upon us the rest of the ordinance. Now, with regard to whether there was a change, that was provided to council prior to the amendment being officially taken by council, that should not affect tonight either. I don't see why it would. As long as the previous version was available for public inspection in case someone wanted it, then it was available, and that's all that was necessary.
okay. Gallagher is on the record. I will move forward with the agenda. I will now ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Make the motion.
Motion made by Councilor Brandis. Is there a second on the floor?
Second.
Second by Secretary Billups. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so the public hearing is now open. If there are any residents that would like to comment on ordinance number 3189, you have the floor.
Can't believe we're going to listen to the advice of a law firm that has given you bad advice in the past, in which you lost 2 cases to. So I want to once again address the proposed 1% earned income tax, a policy that, if enacted, would significantly increase the financial burden on working families and business owners in Upper Darby. We have been told this tax is necessary. We have been told this is a solution. And we have been told by the mayor and his administration that it is a step toward diversifying the township's revenue. Let us be clear, that claim does not hold up. For resident homeowners in this township, this tax does not diversify revenue in any meaningful way. It does not tap new industries, new sources, or outside stakeholders. It comes from the same place property tax comes from, our residents' paychecks. Whether you are paying property taxes through your mortgage or directly, this new tax will come from the same wallet, the same working families, the same people footing the bill. There is nothing diversified about shifting dollars from one pocket to another. It is rebranding of the same burden, placed even more squarely on the backs of those who are working hardest to stay afloat in this township. And let us not forget, Upper Darby already has one of the highest tax millage rates in Delaware County. Residents have asked this administration repeatedly to explore real reform, to reduce the property tax rate, or at least offer relief. That request has been consistently denied. Instead, we are now being presented with a new tax, a 1% earned income tax, that, for example, will cost a household earning $70,000 about an additional $700 a year. For some families, that is the equivalent of raising their property taxes anywhere from 5% to well over 100%. For renters and young workers, people who don't pay direct property taxes now, it could represent a complete reversal of their financial role in the township and increased rent costs. For non-resident workers, it could mean an additional deduction from your paycheck if you are not already paying an EIT where you reside. But perhaps even more troubling than the tax itself is how this is being handled. The township administration has refused to use its full communication tools, robocalls, text alerts, mailers, or direct outreach to notify residents of the proposed tax. Although the administration has held public town halls on the subject, they failed to notify the majority of residents about them, restricting announcements to the township website and social media pages, platforms that do not reach a broader or representative portion of our community. For a policy of this magnitude, the level of outreach is not just inadequate, it's unacceptable. Why keep people in the dark? Because if more residents were informed, more would be here speaking out, just like tonight. This tax is being quietly rushed forward, not because it's a good policy, but because the administration knows it wouldn't withstand public scrutiny. Let's stop pretending this is some bold new step forward. It is not. It's a desperate and poorly disguised attempt to extract more money from working residents without fixing the root causes of our financial instability, without reducing spending, and without providing tax fairness across the board. This is not revenue diversification. This is redistribution within the same base from the same people in a township that already struggles with affordability. The council members that will vote yes do so not because they represent Upper Darby residents, but because they are submissive and subservient to the mayor and the administration. If this council truly represents the people, then you will slow this process down. You will communicate honestly, you will seek real solutions, and you will reconsider this tax. Upper Darby residents deserve better than this. Now, Councilor Wentz spoke about the amendment change. Yes, on 4-2, you all voted to introduce and advertise the ordinance 3129. You changed that on 425 or after, where you made amendments to it without a vote by council to make those amendments. In Pennsylvania, a change to an implementation date in an ordinance is generally considered a material change, especially if it affects when the law takes effect, enforcement, or compliance. Because of that, it typically requires a formal amendment and a new vote by council. Here's why. Materiality of the date. The implementation date often affects when residents or businesses must comply. Budget cycles or revenue collection timeliness, especially in tax ordinances. Legal obligations or penalties. Sunshine Act and municipal codes. Under Pennsylvania Sunshine Act and relevant municipal codes, residents are entitled to transparency and the opportunity to comment on substantive changes. A new implementation date could affect public input and policy outcomes. Procedural fairness, changing the date without a vote could be challenged as a procedural violation, which other violations have been challenged for procedural violations, particularly if it bypasses public notice or debate. Case law and precedent. Courts in Pennsylvania have viewed changes that affect the timing, scope, or impact of an ordinance as requiring re-advertisement or council action depending on the governing body's rules, home rule charter versus traditional borough township code. Those are the reason why this needs to be reintroduced and not voted on tonight.
Mr. Vazari mentioned that the home rule charter controls. May I wait until Mr. Tunes returns? Thank you. No, if he did, that was quick.
I apologize, I had a family emergency.
Sorry. Section C702 of the Upper Darby Home Rule Charter ordinances, the procedure section. A proposed ordinance may be introduced by any member of council at any public meeting. Upon introduction of any proposed ordinance, a copy shall be distributed to each member of council, to the mayor, and to the chief administrative officer. And a reasonable number of copies shall be filed in such other public places as council may from time to time designate. Council shall provide for the publication of the proposed ordinance or a summary thereof, together with a notice setting out the time and place for a public hearing thereon. The public hearing shall follow the publication by at least 7 days and may be held separately or in connection with a regular or special council meeting, and may be adjourned from time to time. All persons interested shall have an opportunity to be heard at the public forum preceding the public meeting. After the hearing, the council may adopt the ordinance with or without amendment or reject it. But if it is amended, the council may not adopt it until the ordinance or its amended sections have been subjected to all the procedures hereinbefore required in the case of a newly introduced ordinance. When an ordinance is passed by council, it shall be sent within 3 days to the mayor for his approval or disapproval with a statement of the action council has taken thereon. If said ordinance is vetoed by the mayor, it may be reconsidered by council at the next public meeting and shall take effect if approved by at least 7 members of council. Mr. Gallagher, I would like to read to you Section 1.13 of the Professional Code of Conduct from the Pennsylvania Bar Association that governs this meeting. If a lawyer for an organization knows that an officer, employee, or other person associated with the organization is engaged in action, intends to act, or refuses to act in a matter related to the representation that is a violation of a legal obligation to the organization or a violation of law which reasonably might be imputed to the organization and is likely to result in substantial injury to the organization, the lawyer shall proceed as is reasonably necessary in the best interest of the organization. In determining how to proceed, the lawyer shall give due consideration to the seriousness of the violation and its consequences, the scope and nature of the lawyer's representation, the responsibility in the organization, and the apparent motivation of the person involved, the policies of the organization concerning such matters, and any other relevant considerations. Any measures taken shall be designed to minimize disruption of the organization and the risk of revealing information relating to the representation to persons outside the organization. Such measures may include, among others, asking for reconsideration of the matter, advising that a separate legal opinion on the matter be sought for presentation to the appropriate authority in the organization, and referring the matter to a higher authority in the organization, including, if warranted by the seriousness of the matter, referral to the highest authority that can act on behalf of the organization as determined by applicable law. If, despite the lawyer's efforts in accordance with paragraph B, which I just read, the highest authority that can act on behalf of the organization insists upon action or a refusal to act that is clearly a violation of law and is likely to result in substantial injury to the organization, the lawyer may resign in accordance with Rule 1.16. In dealing with an organization's directors, officers, employees, members, shareholders, or other constituents, a lawyer shall explain the identity of the client when the lawyer knows or reasonably should know that the organization's interests are adverse to those of the constituents with whom the lawyer is dealing. Section 306 of the Local Tax Enabling Act. Advertisement of intention to adopt a tax ordinance or resolution. Prior to the passage of any ordinance or the adoption of any resolution imposing a tax or license fee under the authority hereunder granted, such political subdivision shall give notice of the intention to pass such ordinance or adopt such resolution. Such notice shall be given in addition to all other notices required by law to be given, and shall set forth the substantial nature of the tax or license fee to be imposed by the proposed ordinance or resolution, the reason which, in the judgment of the officials of the subdivision, necessitates the imposition of the tax, and the amount of revenue estimated to be derived from the tax. Publication of such notice shall be made by advertisement once a week for 3 weeks in a newspaper of general circulation within such political subdivision, if there is such newspaper, and if there is not, then such publication shall be made in a newspaper of circulation within the county in which the advertising political subdivision is located. Please keep that in mind when considering the Home Rule Charter requires any amended ordinance to go through all procedures to adopt that ordinance. That is, again, Local Tax Enabling Act, Section 306. Article 5, Section 9 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. Mr. McNeely, I do believe that you have a separate oath other than the one you just took as a constable to uphold the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Is that correct? Section 9, right of appeal. There shall be a right of appeal in all cases to a court of record from a court not of record, and there shall also be a right of appeal from a court of record or from an administrative agency to a court of record or to an appellate court. The selection of such court to be as provided by law. And there shall be such other rights of appeal as may be provided by law. Section 309 of the Local Tax Enabling Act. Appeals by taxpayers. No tax levied for the first time by any political subdivision to which this chapter applies shall go into effect until 30 days from the time of the adoption of the ordinance or resolution levying the tax. Within said 30 days, taxpayers representing 25% or more of the total valuation of real estate in the political subdivision as assessed for taxation purposes, or taxpayers of the political subdivision not less than 25 in number, aggrieved by the ordinance or resolution, shall have the right to appeal therefrom to the Court of Quarter Sessions of the county upon giving bond with sufficient security in the amount of $500, approved by the court, to prosecute the appeal with effect and for the payment of costs. The petition shall set forth the objections to the tax and the facts in support of such objections, and shall be accompanied by the affidavit of at least 5 of the petitions that averments of the petition are true and the petition is not filed for the purpose of delay. No such appeal shall act as a supersedious unless specifically allowed by the court to which the appeal is taken or a judge thereof. Immediately upon filing of any such petition, the petitioners shall serve a copy of the petition and any rule granted by the court upon the president, chairman, secretary, or clerk of the legislative body levying the tax. The court shall fix a day for a hearing not less than 15 days, nor more than 30 days after the filing of the petition. Notice of the time of such hearing shall be given to all interested parties as the court shall direct. The court shall promptly hear and dispose of the appeal. It shall be the duty of the court to declare the ordinance and the tax imposed thereby to be valid, unless it concludes that the ordinance is unlawful or finds that the tax imposed is excessive or unreasonable, but the court shall not interfere with the reasonable discretion of the legislative body in selecting the subjects or fixing the rates of the tax. The court may declare invalid all or any portion of the ordinance or of the tax imposed, or may reduce the rates of tax. Mr. Vazari already gave you the definition of amendment in Pennsylvania, and that dates, changing a date, adding a date is an amendment. Cornell Law Cornell Law Journal defines amend. To amend is to make a change by adding, subtracting, or substituting. For example, one can amend a statute, a contract, the United States Constitution, or a pleading filed in a lawsuit. Generally, procedures dictate the way in which one amends a specific item. The amendment problem aside, should you pass this tonight, the statutory appeal time, which is guaranteed by the Constitution of Pennsylvania, I just read you Section 9, is until June 8th. The appeal will be heard by court from the 15th of, from the 23rd of June until the 7th of July. Your enactment date to start taking the tax as of July 1st violates the residents' the constitutional guarantee of appeal, because the tax will be in effect during the statutory appeal period. The amendment is a problem. You are not allowed to just amend, post it. That amendment was not circulated at any of the places. Council, as Council Member Wentz stated, Council did not agree to that. It is not what was advertised on April 2nd. You know from various sources, including the Keystone or the DECD, that the original date you had was essentially making everybody start collecting on June 8th. And that is a problem for you, because that is not administratively possible. This is a result of the carelessness on the, let me get the date right, February 19th vote on the prior ordinance. That was incorrect, sloppy, and completely invalid, in my humble opinion. That is why we are here. And you are about to do another violation of the statutory enactment procedure of an ordinance. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has stated multiple times, and under Section 5577.1 of the state of the Pennsylvania Code, strict compliance with statutory procedure is mandatory and non-waivable. You do not get to ram a tax down the throats of the residents. That is why the procedure is deliberate, complex, and thorough. To make sure that for you to take money, hard-earned dollars from residents of Upper Darby, especially the ones that live paycheck to paycheck, you better damn well get it right. You are not entitled to $18 million a year of new revenue if you can't enact that ordinance properly, nor should you be trusted with it. If the residents stand up to say, get your hands out of my pocket, you have not done this legally, how dare you push back on them? Yeah, the threats are nice. You have not made the decisions or taken the actions to get spending under control. Just the opposite. Spending has skyrocketed. You passed a budget that was not paid for. You were going into the general fund $7.5 million after you already said, we need more revenue, and you didn't have it. If you cannot pass an ordinance legally, you are not to be trusted with additional funds, let alone all the other $88 million that you have your hands on now. As my opening statement said in the 3 minutes, I really hope you are listening to what was just read to you. That is the law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just reading statutes. I'm reading the Constitution of Pennsylvania. Mr. Gallagher can tell you, well, he's wrong, and he might end up being right, but this township is going to be the one that suffers unless you then take him to task under Section 1.13 of the Professional Code, although we highly doubt anyone at Kilkenny Law will ever face consequence because they spread too much money around. Our money around. And we're the ones that pay for all of you to get your pet little projects without really consulting with us. We had passed millions of dollars for the children. We passed millions of dollars for seniors. We passed millions of dollars for the police, for the fire. All the people we want to have the best opportunity in Upper Darby. And you guys tried to take it back. And now, once again, you're trying to get more without doing it legally or properly. You should call off this vote. If you want to pass the 1%, you know what? Get it done right. You have every opportunity to do it for a January 1 start properly. We said, don't go with whatever this solicitor said. We said, wait for a new one. Councilwoman Wagner said the same thing. Councilwoman Wentz said the same thing. You guys didn't want to listen. You just got led by the nose to another bad ordinance, followed by a corrected bad ordinance that's still bad. There is no more for any of you to say other than no. Should you vote on this? No. If it comes up for a vote, you vote no. Otherwise, I have just read into the record that you will be violating the Pennsylvania Constitution because a statutory guaranteed appeal will not be possible. You will start taking the tax prior to the appeal process being over. You will pass an ordinance that has been amended without advertising and giving public notice. You will have amended that, posted it for consideration without having it gone through the proper council process. The only reason we are here, please remember, the only reason we are here was because process wasn't followed the first time last September. It wasn't followed the second time back in February. And here you're making the same mistake.
Wow. Mayor, you said there were 50 people that were for you and that were for this. Where are they? They were at your town hall. 50 people. Where are they? Because the people behind me are against this. And don't you just love John, both of these Johns? These are this handful of people, you call them progress stoppers? Yeah. Yeah, progress stoppers. Once again, this is the third time? The third time. He done pointed out to you before they take your dumb ass to court again. Okay, but continue on. Continue on. These two eager to start taking our money. That's why they sitting here smiling, but you're going to get stopped again. And by the way, the people money that y'all took back in January when you had no legal right to, did you give it back to them? Uh-huh. Y'all overstepped your boundaries.
I'm not a tax collector, so I'm not sure what you're referring
You're with Keystone, right?
No.
You're not? Oh, my apologies. I thought you were with the people that took people's money unauthorized. Uh-huh. Because they went into, oh, yeah. Well, no, Keystone, before this EIT was even passed. Ain't that right, Ms. LaRue? Ain't that right? They went into people's paycheck, even though this didn't pass yet. I thought that you were with them. Okay, you're from Keystone. And I'm asking the question.
No tax was collected.
Yes, it was. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, yes, it was. It was.
Not by Keystone.
Yes, it was. You need to go back and look. You need to go back and look because you jumped the gun. Okay, we got proof that that tax was taken out illegally before this even came to the floor. Okay. Well, whoever takes the tax out, it was taken out illegally. And my question to you, if it was your company, did you give it back to those people with interest? Because see, even though it just is 1%, you may have a family that's working paycheck to paycheck. You understand what I'm saying? And that $80 that you took from them could have been for gas, could have been for food. You understand? So now they have to wait. I'm not, sir, I didn't ask you for a response. I'm just explaining what had happened to a lot of people, that money was taken from them illegally. If you have a family that's working paycheck to paycheck and money's taken from them, unbeknownst to them until they see that pay stub on something that wasn't passed and it was illegally to do so, how do you know if that money that was taken didn't need it for gas or food for their kids? That's the point that I'm trying to make. This is unnecessary. And like John said, we have the highest tax rate, property taxes, along with the school taxes. This is unnecessary. We got all these people in here with these high-ass salaries that don't do nothing. We got an L&I director who pays $130,000 a year, but he can't send an email to the people that pay him. He can't answer the phone. He can't answer an email. You got a CAO over here making $200,000 a year to do what? Sit here and lie to us. These are outside people. This is why I was so upset when the residency requirement was taken. Now, that is not for those people who don't live here, who do a good job. People like this one, like you, him, and the other CAO that's here, that don't live here and don't give a damn about the residents of Upper Darby Township. Those are the ones that need to go. The spending is out of control. Now they're trying to take more money to cover this nonsense. Are you kidding me? This is wrong. This is wrong. And we're going to keep these what you call them? Progress stoppers. We're going to keep stopping you. Okay? Get ready again.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, experts. I have reviewed ordinance number 3189 with great interest and concern because even this new version that replaces the old one ordinance, I think it's 385, it still would have long-term impacts on both residents and non-residents working in our township. And while the ordinance, it outlines the mechanics of tax collection and compliance, it's incomplete. It leaves too many questions unanswered. Foremost, what's driving this tax proposal and what comes next? Upper Darby is already under fiscal scrutiny, state-supported oversight through the Department of Community and Economic Development. If the township is to formally be designated as fiscally distressed, this 1% earned income tax could be just the beginning. So no end to tax increases. That's going to be a real burden that the residents are going to have to weigh. My greatest concern, though, isn't the vague and shifting purposes of this tax and what the funds will do. It's actually the timing, the necessity, and what this sets in motion. For example, what is this tax being, why is this tax being pursued now, and what's going to come next? Before imposing this burden, township officials should explain why it's truly necessary and how residents will be protected from a pattern of rising obligations. Without that, the reasonable vote is no. Secondly, nowhere in the ordinance is it explained how EET revenue will be tracked, managed, or safeguarded. Will it be earmarked in the budget or commingled with other funds? With fiscal controls, what are the fiscal controls that are going to be in place? And what are some of the basic governance questions that remain unanswered that you can submit to us? We need to know that because fund management and good oversight is something we need to know what that's going to look like. And clarity, it really isn't optional. It's something that we need to gain public trust and for public accountability. Lastly, I'm curious about the treasurer's part in all of this. The ordinance makes no mention to the township treasurer's role in overseeing, reporting, or auditing EIT funds. That omission is troubling, especially in light of all of the fiscal concerns that happened recently and also the public's demand for more transparency. I distinctly recall that under former Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer's leadership, there was a clear commitment to restore the treasurer's oversight powers after the next election. I'm not sure why that hasn't happened, but the more pressing concerns are, and I guess you can answer that, when will the treasurer next have the opportunity to report out to the public?
To my understanding from the administration, the treasurer does get monthly reports from the administration. Can we confirm that he gets monthly reports?
Yes, but I would ask Diane Scudi, our acting finance director. She has the contact with the treasurer.
No, I want to know when he's going to report out to the public.
He can come to the meeting and.
So he's got to do it from here. It's never going to be
Yeah, he can come to the meeting.
Okay.
He's done it in the past.
Okay. Okay. So from here. Okay. Along with the public. Okay. I thought he was equally an elected official. So.
Ma'am, what's your name?
And why weren't his responsibilities defined in this ordinance, especially when introducing a brand new revenue stream? Is it because his powers were never reinstated and that additional restrictions were put on him to limit his role?
Joe's the lawyer, but I don't think the treasurer has any, he doesn't have tax collection responsibility.
He's not the tax collector, but there was opportunity for him to have some powers reinstated. There was opportunities for him to at least sit up there with you guys as an equally elected.
Oh, okay.
Okay. As I stated earlier, this ordinance is incomplete. It lacks a clearly defined purpose, oversight mechanisms, and public reporting requirements that leaves too much room for ambiguity, and it's not enough accountability. And so we can't make amendments, but I did draft some recommended language for potential amendments meant to help guide any council member that's willing to act on our behalf. These proposals, they help define fund management procedures and establish oversight reporting requirements. Whether these recommendations or amendments are adopted, I still urge you guys to revise the ordinance and think about it before you implement it, because we need more than the legal sufficiency and the corrections that you made. We really need some transparency, responsiveness, and some fiscal trust and leadership. Thank you.
Ma'am, what is your name?
Crystal Galt, and I had some recommendations. Can I give those?
Give it to the chief clerk, and she'll make sure right there.
Okay,
stop it,
perfect. Thank you.
and she'll give that to all of council.
Hi, I'm Justine Mays. Congratulations, Puppet. So, general purpose of residence tax. So, just like the resident said before me, it's incomplete because why is there going to be a tax on earned income and net profits? See, I'm still having an issue with the net that is in there. Are you trying to take money from my net money that I have to rely on? See, I have a problem with that because that says general purpose residence tax and also for non-residents. You're saying on earned and net profits, and I understand what that's quite not clear. So after my taxes is taken, you're going to take another 1%?
Can I help you?
Yeah.
The reason it's earned income and net profits, earned income would be payroll, that's it. In other words, what you actually earn is what you taxed on. Now, there are some people who work for themselves. They don't have payroll coming into them, and you don't tax. In other words, if you're running a business and it costs you to pay for the rent for the business, to pay for the lights for the business, to pay for the water, to pay for everything that goes on in that business. It's not the gross profits, which would be everything in there. After you've paid all your expenses, what's left and you would take as your income, that would be subject to the 1%. And there are two different groups of people. Those who work for somebody else, earned income, and those who work for themselves, net profits. That's the easiest way to understand that. No, you don't get double taxed. You don't get, there's no duplication at all. That's the only reason they use the words net profits, because the other term for profits is gross, and that would be everything coming in before you paid all your expenses. That would be totally unfair. Run your business, pay all your overhead, all your expenses, and then whatever's left, which would be your income, that's what you'd be subject to.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
No, that definitely helps. Also, the ongoing tax, it says the tax shall continue at the above rates during the current tax year and each tax year thereafter without annual reenactment until this ordinance is repealed or the rate is changed. So I don't know if you remember a couple months ago, Mayor, I said that when it gets enacted, what's going to stop you from going up? And you told me, well, that's not going to happen, and that's my opinion. And yeah, so it's not my opinion, it's stated in here, or the rate change, as in the rate may increase once you guys put it through, because you're going to want to put it through.
The state law caps it at 1%. Nobody can.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It does.
So what's to stop you from going up? Well, then why put, or the rate change? Are you going to say it's going to go down?
So-
Is it going to go down? Because the mayor said, well, that's my opinion. No, it's literally stated in here as fact.
1% is the amount that we plan on enacting. And as I stated to you before, when you asked a few months ago, I have no desires or plans to go past 1%. I think we're allowed to legally. Maybe, you know, I guess this gentleman can speak to whether we're allowed to, but I have no desires to go, even if we are, let me say it that way. Even if we are allowed to go past 1%, that is not in the plans. We have no desire to go past 1% for the EIT. I'll repeat that again, okay?
Okay, you have no desire, but you called it my opinion, and it's not an opinion. It's a fact.
I just said
Yeah, you
I have no
did.
desire to go
At the
past
previous
1%.
one, you did. You did.
You
said,
you
well,
had
that's
stated
my
that you thought
opinion.
it was going to go past 1%. And if you
It is gonna go
say
past
that, that is your opinion, right?
No, it's not my opinion. You want to know why? Because you're on borrowed time. That's a fact. So it doesn't matter what happens because after your term is up, another mayor is going to get elected. And then they may want to go up on it. So remember, you're on borrowed time, as is everyone here. Another question. So when we talk about earned income, what about people who are disabled and they rely on SSI? What about them? Because you just said it's only going to be for
Correct me
people
if
that
I'm
make
wrong,
less than
but
12,000.
SSI does not count as earned income.
Okay, no, it does not state that here because some people do try to include it. What about Social Security? There are a lot of people that are on fixed incomes and a lot of disabled people that live in this township. So I just wanted to make sure that you should make that clear in here, that SSI is not considered earned income. Because some people may think that you're gonna take their income from them, people that need it. I was raised by a disabled mother, so I know
That's been
what it was
covered at
like to
multiple
be.
meetings, multiple
Yeah, I'm
town
still
halls.
talking.
No Social
So-
Security is affected by that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm still talking. So, like I said, I was raised by a mother who was disabled and she recently passed. So I know what it's like to be disabled and people call that income. So I just want to make sure you're also taking into account the people who cannot fight back and the people who have to live stream these meetings because they are not able to come here in person. So make sure you're also thinking of them because you're going to pass it anyway. You got your puppet after all. His suit is too tight, by the way. You need a better tailor. So, are you going to at least take that into consideration to try to amend it a little bit to help out with the language for people who cannot fight back? Lights are on, no one's home, as per usual.
Hello, everyone. So you said you're with Keystone?
Yes, I am.
And what was your name again? I'm sorry?
Joseph Lazaro.
Joseph Lazaro. So at the passing, I believe it was in February, it was asked if anybody had, it was asked CAO Jones who had reviewed, oh, Myron, you don't want to hear my comments? I mean, Marion, you don't want to hear my comments? Okay. It was asked if someone who had reviewed the ordinance, and it was stated that Keystone had reviewed the ordinance and everything was fine. Keystone looked at it and it was right. Is that true?
We reviewed this
You,
one.
did you
We
review
made-
the one in February?
I reviewed, not in February, we didn't review.
No, okay. So it was stated at the hearing in February, we asked who had reviewed it, and CAO Jones told us that Keystone has looked at this, and they said everything is fine and great. So I want to ask Ms. LaRue, at what point did you realize that the ordinance was wrong? Had mistakes you want to correct?
I reviewed the ordinance this morning and had questions about it, so I
So
contacted
this ordinance is
solicitor.
not the one that was advertised? There was not the one that the council voted on to advertise?
I was reviewing the one that I had received in a packet from the municipal clerk.
Well, which ordinance was that? Was that the one that was passed to be advertised? Was that the one that you put online? Which one? There's been so many versions that you keep changing the versions that the public has no idea which version you're talking about. When did you get this epiphany? This morning?
I reviewed it this morning and called the solicitor and talked to the acting finance director to get clarification.
So you changed it this morning?
I didn't change it.
Well, you said you wanted to make those arrangements. You said the counselors had the new one, the one with changes in it.
I wanted things to be clarified before the public hearing, so I mentioned that those were items that should be considered for amendment.
So the one that's online now is the one that they introduced and they voted to advertise. That's what's online now.
I don't know what's online now.
Who can tell me what's online now? The one they advertised? The one they voted to advertise? I mean, are you guys sure you're doing the right thing? I mean, does anybody have any idea what is happening? Any of you? I mean, what are we voting on tonight? Are we voting on the one that you voted to advertise? You voted on the one that, when you came to them and you told them there were problems with the ordinance, they needed to fix it?
Not problems at all. We just wanted it clarified. It was
Well,
always.
you use the word
determined-
clarify, I use the word problem.
Yeah, it was always the intent and always very clear that the first date would be July 1.
It
We
was
just
not
wanted
clear.
it stated in there.
How would I know that? If I'm somebody who works, you know, at a little shop on Garrett Road and I read the ordinance, how do I know when it's supposed to start? The one they advertised, voted to advertise. How would I know that? I'm not a tax accountant. I don't read Pennsylvania. I'm not John DeBessie. I don't read Pennsylvania code. So I look at that and it starts right away. So when did you come to them and tell them there was things you need to clarify?
Sure.
Who did you tell?
I had discussion with the administration.
Who with the administration?
The-
They're public, they work for the
manager-
public. You got to give their names.
The manager and the assistant manager.
Do they have a name?
Yeah, sure. The manager and the assistant manager, Mr. Jones and Diane right here.
And when did you do that?
Diane, do you recall when that call took place? It's been a long time. Been a while. April?
It was in April.
Yeah.
But you just looked at it today and realized we needed to make changes?
I looked at it this morning,
She's talking.
packet that I had received, and asked questions about what needed to be stated tonight so that it was clear before the public hearing.
So the packet you received, did it have the date in it of July 1st? This morning, in that packet?
I didn't receive the packet this morning.
Well,
I looked
the
at it-
packet that you reviewed this morning that had the ordinance in it, did it have the date July 1st?
I don't recall.
Then
but
what did
I
you
had-
what did
I
you
had been-
review?
I had been informed that there was clarity that was needed, so I asked questions. to
What
get that
questions did you
clarity.
ask?
I asked about the items that were before me, why we had added, or it was recommended that it be added, the 6924 and the July 1st, 2025.
The two amendments that she mentioned, those are the two items that she.
So they were in the one you reviewed?
I don't know if they were in the document I
Okay.
reviewed or if they were in notes that
Wait,
I
what?
had.
Okay, all right,
That is why I contacted the solicitor, the acting director of finance.
okay. But you didn't review it in February and tell them it was all good? Okay.
I would just like to say, you did not change it this morning. I have a copy that I downloaded from the internet, from the Upper Darby website on May 6th. It says exactly what this one says. So it wasn't this morning. Not that it really matters, but just this, truth is truth.
I
Let's-
reviewed it this morning and asked
And you made
questions.
changes, you said, but you didn't change it.
Recommended changes.
You didn't make changes today,
So that it would be clear before the public hearing.
but you didn't make changes today.
What?
What
I don't-
changes did you make?
I don't make the changes to the ordinance.
There you go.
Can you just? Because one speaker has the floor. Like, why are we talking out of turn? Just let one person talk at a time.
Can you tell us again, Ms. LaRue, what were the changes that you were suggesting? Because they kind of went quickly, I didn't hear them.
I didn't suggest the changes.
You suggested at the beginning of the meeting, or at the beginning,
The meeting. I
tonight, you said there's two things I think we should,
So that there would be clarity before the public hearing, so that the public could ask any questions. I made note that there may be two amendments to be considered, changing the Local Tax Enabling Act 53 PS .309 to add the 6924.309. And then adding the last phrase, and shall not be imposed until July 1st, 2025, after
Okay.
consulting with the solicitor and the acting director of finance.
Okay, I don't know about let me see if, but that language is in there already. It's in there on the one that we printed on May 6th. The language that you just suggested is already in there, the one that was posted on the website on May 6th. So I'm confused because,
I didn't download it from the website. It
no,
was
I
in the
did.
packet.
I did though. So I did. So I'm confused. Like, do you guys get something different than we get? Like, does the council get a different version than what's posted? I mean, I'm just pulling it from your calendar. You have the meeting listed and you have the final agenda, then you have the actions you're planning to take. And so I printed it and it has the exact things you were just suggesting. So I'm very, very confused about what you're suggesting. But also, these things, when did council vote on these changes? Because they're in here now, the one I have in my hand. When did council vote on them?
They didn't. That's why they're amendments to be voted on tonight. They're not in there already. They haven't been voted on. Those two amendments, those two minor changes, those have not been voted on yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's all. For now.
Laura Wentz, concerned person. So I share this same concern as residents about these changes, these supposed amendments that was not on the ordinance that was introduced to be advertised by council. I voted no, but the majority of council voted yes. These changes were not there. As residents have already described, has already indicated by reading sections of different laws, changing the date of implementation of a tax is a major change. It's not a minor change, it's a major change. As a council member, I was not notified of any of these amendments. I was not, if I hadn't printed it out and read through it carefully, I would not have caught them. So as a council member, when we received our packet, either the draft packet that we received the Friday before, the weekend before the week of the meetings, there was no indication of amendments, or maybe I missed that part of the email. Maybe I just didn't read it clearly, but it was not on there. And the final version, not in that email either. No notification saying, council, we are suggesting amendments. This is what they are. No indication. So if I had not printed it out, and I had not taken what had been approved for introduction and advertisement at the council meeting, and if I had not gone through line by line from the very beginning to the end to find the conflict, I would not have known. This is an example of not being transparent. It's also in violation of the Home Rule Charter, as already read by a resident, that if it's amended, the amended section has to go through the same procedures. It has to be reintroduced. I've read this section of the Home Rule Charter many times. I was glad this time I didn't have to read it out loud to everyone again. If this ordinance, this version of the ordinance with these amendments is approved tonight, it is in violation of the Home Rule Charter yet again, and a violation of all the laws that have already been read out by residents again. Taking the law aside, taking the amendments aside, changing I have to reiterate, changing the date is a major problem. It is a major amendment. Okay, so I've spoken to hundreds of residents or maybe thousands of residents over the past year about year and a half, 2 years, about earned income tax. I have not found a single resident who supports it. And they certainly do not support it when they realize that it's on top of our high real estate tax. Now, yes, it didn't get raised, but it's still at $1,402 for every 100,000 assessed home or property. Most municipalities and boroughs that have earned income tax have a very low real estate tax, very low. I think there were some examples of boroughs who did implement a 1% earned income tax this year, but their millage rate was 3.5 or 4. That's $400, $350. That's low. Ours is high. It's coming out of the same pocket. And to be clear, renters pay, every time the taxes are raised, the property taxes are raised, their rent goes up. Every time trash and sewer, if it's not an apartment complex that is required to have their own trash and recycling taken away, and it's just a little apartment on top of a business where they put their trash out, same as everyone else in that same area, their rent goes up every time trash and sewer goes up. Their rent goes up every time real estate tax goes up. They are the ones that are definitely, there are so many people that are living check by check. And when you say you're not going to raise it above 1%, well, what happens when the school district does a referendum to take half of that 1% away? Then you're not going to get all the money you planned on getting to fill that gap. So then you're only getting half of it. And then you are going to have to raise it to meet your goals. So, and along with that, so there's the people that live check by check, people that are barely making it. Prices for food are going up every day. Prices on household supplies are going up every day. People are choosing between whether or not they can go out for dinner or never go out to dinner ever again because they can't afford it, right? Or if they can feed their children healthy foods versus not being able to afford it. This is a detriment to our residents and to our businesses because our businesses don't know what's happening. Because as residents have already mentioned this evening, there has not been much of an outreach to the businesses to tell them it's happening. They don't know, except for when certain council members or residents actually tell them, hey, this is happening. And they are like, our employees we're not going to be able to afford this. That means they have to give raises, at least a 1% raise to their employees. Some of them are mom and pop shops. Some of them are just paying their family members. They don't have enough money coming in. Why? Because it's so expensive and people can't afford to go to those restaurants, or they can't afford to go and buy those items at their stores because they don't have extra cash anymore because all the prices are going up on basic living expenses. This is a problem. And to be clear, there were township employees of Upper Darby that had the earned income tax taken out of their checks already this year. It may not have been done by Keystone, but it was done by Upper Darby Township. As Upper Darby Township, as the employer, should know that EIT had not been passed yet. Not legally. But it's been taken out of their paychecks. There are multiple employees in that situation. In fact, there's one employee where where they live has an earned income tax, and instead of it, the 1% going to where they live, it went to Upper Darby. That's a mistake. It's not supposed to go to Upper Darby. It's supposed to go to where the individual lives. So now the township owes that municipality some money. And if they've done that already, what happens next when it actually gets implemented? Because they have the votes to pass it. What happens when all township employees have to encounter that and they have to verify to make sure the funds are going to the right place if they don't live here? That's a huge problem. This is very concerning. I empower the members of council to vote no. There are so many mistakes. It violates the Home Rule Charter. If you agree to the amendments and implement it with the date change versus what had been approved by you, not me, you approved it to be advertised without a date on it, without specification on the date. You did that. But you're probably going to vote for the amendments and you're going to, probably pass it accordingly, even though from residents reading all the different tax code and laws and the whole shebang and the Home Rule Charter, that if you vote in favor of it, you are actually violating your very own oath. Every elected official, we just heard the oath tonight, took an oath to uphold the Home Rule Charter. Home Rule Charter specifically says if you amend any section of the ordinance, those sections have to be reintroduced. It has to be applied to every step of a normal, brand new ordinance. You are opening the door for another lawsuit if you vote yes. I know looking at your phone is way more important than listening to anyone speaking. So I empower you to vote no. I empower you to actually talk to the residents of this township, because I don't think you have. I don't think you've gone to their doors. I don't think you've knocked on the door and said to them, hey, there's an earned income tax. How will this affect you and your family and your livelihood? What if they have two adults with 4 children who are of working age living in that household? It affects the children too. It affects anyone working in your household that 1% is going to come out of their pay, right? So it could be an $8,000 tax increase on top of their high real estate tax. That's more than what the Home Rule Charter allows for real estate tax increases. Way more. It's very scary. It's disturbing. And it's complete disrespect to the residents and businesses of this township. Please vote no.
Is not to belabor a point, but who made the decision to put the revised ordinance on the website? Who made that decision? Did anybody make that decision to put the revised ordinance on the website, or did it just magically appear? Nobody makes decisions here. Nobody wants, if you do something, stand up and said, I did it and I feel it was right. Saying silence makes me think that you're trying to hide something and you're ashamed of what you've done. Stand up and say what you've
We
done.
don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that. So that's why I'm not answering. I don't know who uploaded the revised one to the website. That's just not.
You don't know who uploads the things on the website?
I'm sorry?
You don't
I
know
don't
how
know
they
who uploaded that particular item to the website. So You know,
I do
that,
not
that's not
know.
that we're trying to keep it a secret. If I knew the answer, I would say so. Maybe.
No, like where I work, if I were to walk into a room and I were to say to the people who are the upper management, who made the decision to put this up on our website? They would be able to tell me. They would know. How is it that nobody knows the organizational function of this township?
I don't think that's what I said. I said I don't know the answer to that particular question. I don't know of a CEO who knows every minute detail of an organization that they're responsible for. So let's be fair.
This isn't that big of an
Honest, if I knew
organization.
the answer, I would tell you there's no secret.
This isn't like the city of Philadelphia. It's not like you got 10,000 employees. I mean, for crying out loud.
So it's small enough that I should know every minute detail of how everything about
I didn't
every
say you.
department?
You take everything so personally. I didn't say you
I'm
specifically.
not taking it personally. I'm just asking the question based on what you just said.
Somebody who works for you should know, perhaps.
No doubt. But I said I don't know the answer. You said we're silent, like we are sitting here knowing the answer and we're not saying it.
Who that works for you should know? Do you think?
CAO Jones would know, and I can find out tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow's too late, isn't it? Unless they all vote no.
That is what I can do.
It's convenient. Okay, so let's get to something else. So in your experience at Keystone as a tax collector,
Yes.
how many times has an EIT gone down in your experience?
Has it gone?
Has an earned income tax rate gone down?
It has gone down. I couldn't tell you how many. We represent about 2,000 municipal governments.
Give me a percent, like 1%, 5%?
1,000.
Huh?
About 1,000 municipal governments. I honestly could not answer that. I do not know.
How many times do you think they've gone up?
I have the same answer, exact
Okay.
same answer. I do not. I'd give you a number if I could. I don't have statistics on that.
Okay. So
It's normally 1% and it stays consistently 1%.
okay, and there is consistently, except in Chester. Chester has higher. Chester's 3. I know you may not do Chester, but
I understand. And I understand there are situations. Sometimes there are exceptions to that rule and the state allows that for.
so there is no limit.
There are limits. You have to meet very strict exceptions.
What are the exceptions you have to meet to raise it?
Yeah. Open space adjustment of the real estate.
What does that mean?
That means that the municipal government is reserving certain.
Can I
real
interrupt you a
estate-
second? Jess, am I bothering you?
You're not bothering me. I
Okay,
just
great.
think that some of these questions may not have to deal with our specific township.
Right. And they wouldn't.
We wouldn't, so we wouldn't, you say we wouldn't raise it then?
I cannot speak for the future.
Okay, well then, what the
No
parameters of raising, what the
no
parameters
indication
of
at all.
raising an EIT, I think may apply to our township then. Would you agree? Ms. Branis?
I would like to think not. I would like to think that when, for example, when,
Well,
I think it was
if we were never going to raise taxes, we wouldn't be talking about an EIT. So let's be genuine here, okay? So let's be genuine. If we were,
And I also
nobody
look
wants to
at it
raise the
as-
taxes.
I also look at it as this, like, there are those of us who do not work in the township but live here and have EIT taken out. Why shouldn't that money come back here to help? Why should it go to someplace that we don't live?
Why should people who don't pay it have to pay it if they live
To
here?
Philadelphia, because Philadelphia likes to take everything, but that's different.
I don't care about Philadelphia.
Can I
Okay.
just respond? 1%, and I'll state again what I said at the town halls, and John DeMasi asked me to specifically at one of the town halls. 1% is the percentage that I would like to pass, and I have no desire to go past that. Once we realize revenue from the EIT, then we certainly, and I said, on the record, that we'll look at lowering the property tax rate once we realize the EIT. The EIT is a tax that when you gain money from it, it grows exponentially, correct?
Not if all the plumbers leave.
Let me finish. I'm sorry, say it again.
Not if all the plumbers leave. I was being snarky. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I understand. but it grows exponentially. So the plan is to have realized 1 year of EIT revenue and then lower the millage rate. I have no desire to keep both at the same rate, have them going simultaneously, but it will be fiscally responsible based on what we're trying to do to, at the same time that we're trying to implement an EIT, lower the property tax rate at the exact same time. We don't have any idea how much we're going to raise from it. We have a projection, we have an estimate, and if we realize that, then we certainly will, a year later, lower the property tax. And I have no desire to go past 1%. So that's
Can I
that's
get a
the story.
commitment from
That's the
everybody here
story.
that they're going to lower it
So
next
I
time?
said that many times. I'm repeating what I said at the town halls. I'm repeating when I was asked that question directly.
I'm going to be a little bit, no offense, a little bit of offense. You're a politician. I don't believe you when you say that, because you're not going to be here forever and you don't have a control over whether or not they raise my property taxes. Well, you might, because you're a little puppet master. I don't know. But you don't have that control. You can't make them lower my property taxes. You think you can? No. Do you think a mayor can make them do it? In all honesty,
I don't even understand your question.
you said that you have no desire to raise property taxes, and you're going to commit to
I make
not doing it.
suggestions on ordinances. I make suggestions on laws, and I bring it to council for consideration. They get to pass it, but this administration decides on what we're doing. We make recommendations of what we'd like to do, and they get to decide. If 6 of them agree, then that's what we pass.
So if they decide to raise it, then it's raised, no matter what you say. You can scoff at me, but there are some of
I'm not
us.
scoffing at you. I disagree with you.
There are some
I'm
of
allowed
us.
to do that, just like you're allowed to say what you don't believe what I say. So we're having a dialogue. So
There are some of us, okay, that don't have a fancy job, okay, and we need every cent we get. You're taking 1%. And I would love to see what that would get us. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to get us anything. I mean, we waste money exponentially. I know you don't like to hear it. I know nobody likes to hear it, but we do. We waste money. We waste money. And somebody said it earlier, when you guys, you make all these, you can't even write an ordinance properly. And I'm going to give you $18 million? I don't understand it. Maybe let me get back to the money question. So you've never, people do lower the rate sometimes.
Yes.
Okay. And there's certain provisions, I won't make them go into what the provisions are, don't worry. Waste your time with meaningless things that you don't care about. So there are provisions that they have to be met before they can raise it. Yes, they can't just next year say we want to raise it to 1.5. There has to be certain things they've met.
There are situations like a pension fund is distressed. There's a place to do that. Municipality is.
Can you move the microphone a little closer to you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. There are situations, and when those situations occur, there is a statutory criteria they have to follow to change it.
To raise the
If they're
EIT.
in a certain situation. Now, I'm not speaking to Upper Darby. I'm talking in a general sense across municipal governments across Pennsylvania.
So they can't just next year say we want to raise it to 1.5.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, but you said there are certain things that they hadn't, there are certain things they had to meet in order to raise it.
Like tonight.
What is tonight? I don't understand your answer.
For them to pass the tax tonight, they had to follow certain criteria under the statute.
The criteria was they wanted it. That was their criteria. They want it. So next year they want it to be 1.5 or 2% for residents only, because only residents can pay the higher rate, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct. It's a home rule municipality, so they have the same power to raise the rate.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You're correct. It's a home rule municipality. They have the same power to raise the tax next year as they do to introduce it this year. Would have to go through the right process, but
Right process. Yeah.
But they could just say, we want it, and they can raise it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, they could say we want it, and yes, yes.
Okay, and the limit for it, Not per year, but
As we've discussed, there's no limit for residents, that no legal limit, right? There's a practical limit, there's the political limit, but you're right. From a legal perspective, there's no limit.
okay.
The highest in the state is, well,
Go ahead, say it.
375,
375. That's Philadelphia
very high.
or Chester.
That's correct. Yep.
Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to mumble, but yes, you're correct. It's Chester.
It's Chester. Okay. All right.
And I'm sorry to bring this up again with regards to what's been discussed with these amendments. I just want to clarify and make sure that you all understand on April 2nd, there was a version of the ordinance that you all voted on, whether you were for it or against it, to have it introduced and advertised. Now, the one that was published on 4/2 was not the same one that was presented that night, because there were changes which could be made in advance because it was a working session. But the version that was presented in all your packets was what was voted on to introduce and advertise, and that's the version that was approved. Other residents mentioned that on 5/6, they printed the version that has the amendments on it that Ms. LaRue had said that she wanted to suggest those amendments. And that was there on 5/6. And this is the one that I printed out today on 5/8, about 4 o'clock tonight. The 5/6 version, which is the same as this one that I printed out tonight, is saved on my computer with the date that I saved it. And this one is also saved with the date that I printed and saved it. This is not an amendment. It's an amendment, but you made a change to it. So typically when you make an amendment, it's taking the document that you're presenting and making those changes and then reprinting a new version of it. You already reprinted this version prior to even voting on making the amendment. So I just want to make that clear and heed what was said tonight, that you're violating the home rule charter. But we know you don't care because you've done it in the past. We've taken you to court on it and we won against it. Lastly, I'm going to take an educated guess here that a majority sitting up on this dais had or has thoughts that the tariffs that President Trump had put in place has an impact on you as a consumer, and most likely are against those tariffs. This 1% that you're going to approve tonight is a tariff on the residents.
So I just wanted to talk to Jess, who never listens. When you said that. Okay. All right, perfect. So yeah, you were talking about how we were comparing to other municipalities of Pennsylvania. What else are we supposed to be comparing to? I mean, that's how the mayor came up with 1%, because he compared it to another municipality and where they started. So, and then the comment about Philly taking everything. Well, yeah, Philly has to take everything because they have to take care of the whole state.
Well,
So,
what I, and maybe these guys can clarify, close to what, 90% of municipalities in Pennsylvania have an EIT? Is it close to 90%? 94%. Okay, so 94%. And that's not just townships, that municipalities, that includes like boroughs or townships or whatever. Okay, so that's a lot. I mean, 94% of, the municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania, that's a lot. I also know that there are certain things now, I don't want to say that the statement that you had made earlier that you had read is what we are trying to enact here. Like you said, okay, it can change, where it would be at the discretion of whoever to change it, but it did not specifically say in there to increase it. Okay, so that means it could go lower. Now, I don't think anybody up here wants to hurt anybody in the community. I do not think anybody up here, I don't care if you're Republican or Independent or Democratic, I don't care who you are. Nobody likes to hurt other people. But at the same time, when I look at certain municipalities and to see some of the disarray, and some of them have EITs and some of them do not. And again, I don't know who said that they don't care about Philadelphia. I mean, like, we're all Delco here right now. Except hopefully during Eagle season, you do like them. I don't like the Eagles. Oh, man. But either way, I mean, if you look at a city like Philadelphia, they take close to 4%.
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm from.
Right. So
But, yeah.
I lived in Philadelphia as well, and they took that.
Okay.
Okay. And they took that out of pocket because I worked in an area in New Jersey that did not take out EIT. So I know sometimes what kind of struggle it puts in, but we do have people who live in this township that don't work in this township, you know, with the exception of Philadelphia. Why should their EIT go there and not come here to help where they live? Now, the difference for me is that there are places that have taken out EITs where people are correct. You don't see much for that. That's not what we want to do. We want you to have the services that you have. EIT in a lot of municipalities throughout the country are part of the reason why they have good EMS services, good fire services. I mean, right now, we're all in uproar about the hospital situation, but we need to make sure that there's something there that we can all benefit from. Could you imagine if you had to pay for an ambulance yourself? Have you ever had to do that if you didn't have insurance? Like,
No, but I'm not against the
EIT
EIT, just to say, I just wanted to say, because it's not going to really affect me, but it's going to affect
But
a lot of
I
people
think
here.
a good way to
But-
look at it is if we look at how people and other municipalities did not do and have good services for their residents, and we're taking the EIT, that's a lot different than having the EIT, which is going to help us in the future. So many people are so used to rolling things back. We need to look at the future. We need to look at our green spaces. We need to look at, you know, our pension stuff is fine. So we don't have to worry about, oh, if there's a pension problem, we're going to have to raise this. And quite frankly, I would be very happy if in the future, after we can gauge and see what happens, that our property taxes go down. I would love that.
Well, yeah, I don't believe that's going to happen. So whatever the mayor says about the property taxes going down next year is,
I mean, I'm
frankly, his
saying I would
opinion.
love it.
You know, he's entitled to his own opinion. So yeah, like I said, he's entitled to his own opinion because the property taxes is not going down. It's at what, 14.02 mils?
Something
right?
like that. Something like that.
So I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
I'm not saying the income tax is whatever's going to go up, but then you guys keep saying, oh, well, then our property taxes are going to go down.
She asked her a question.
Well,
that's
like,
what I would like.
Okay.
But it's not going to
Ms.
happen.
Mays has the floor. Are you asking Councilor Brandis a question, or are you just?
Oh, sorry. We were just
ask her a
talking.
question.
Yeah, you can ask. Does anyone else want to ask a question? Or? No. Oh. Well, no, I just wanted to reiterate, because like I said before about people who are disabled and can't show up, you have in here that earned income shall not include any wages or compensation paid by the United States or any person active series in the military, and as right, you should have that. But you also need to include the people who are disabled and cannot fight back. That's all I'm saying. You need to include that for them because they cannot be here. And they unfortunately have to rely on the government. Not everyone has, you know, the ability to get up and go to work today. That is a privilege to be able to do. So if you guys can at least take that into consideration before you pass this EIT, to at least amend that part for the people that can't be here, all the people that have to live stream. That is literally all I ask. And you're not going to go down on the real estate tax. Come on, let's be real. That's just like, come on. You guys want, you claim you want all this stuff, but you need money. And this is a poor township. Okay, that's the reason why Philly is always under, because they have to literally take care of the whole state. That's why they have such a high EIT tax and everything, because everyone likes to go down to Philly, then shit talk Philly, but don't understand that they actually have to take care of the whole state. So just putting that one out there. But yeah, just wanted you guys to put that into consideration about disabled people and writing that actually into this ordinance, just so they know that they're being thought of. Because some people may think that what they make is they're going to get taxed on that. So just think about that.
May I address the Social Security?
Sorry, public here. The next speaker, please.
Okay. My question is, the estimated gross for this, what, 18 million, y'all said? 18 million. So what is that going to pay for? Because see, let's see, we don't have any hospitals. Our streets are metal plates now. The parks are average. So what is this 18 million going to pay for? What is it going to pay for? It's going to line y'all pockets? More of our money in y'all pockets? Because please enlighten me. Marshall Road is a disaster. Now they want to dig up Kent. That's the next one. Barrington is already done. So what exactly is this $18 million paying for? And we don't even have a hospital. So where's this money going? Please enlighten all of us. What are these taxes paying for? Your salaries? These high-ass salaries? For these people who are not doing what they're being paid to do? What is the $18 million going to pay for? Can you answer the question? Can any of you? You're sitting there looking at me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can try to, understanding
Well,
that.
you're not a resident here.
I'm not.
Okay? And I'm explaining to them what our township looks like. It's a shithole. Do you understand? With these high property taxes, now you want to come in here and take more money. What exactly is this extra money you want to take from us is paying for? Because go right there, right now, when you leave here, I want you to go down to Marshall Road and see what it looks like. Then take a tour down 69th Street and watch the roller coaster. Okay? Okay? So our tax dollars are supposed to pay for the streets, parks, and the services in this township. I want you to go down there and look at the lights that's out on 69th Street by the field. A couple of lights down right here by the 69th Street field. A couple of lights are out down there. Okay? So again, taxes are supposed to pay for these services. Why when y'all leave here, you don't have to say anything, just go check for yourself to let you know that I am telling the truth. Okay? So what exactly?
I believe you on the quality of the roads.
Okay. So what exactly? Would you answer that, Mayor?
It's not a question for you.
Huh? It's a question, I'm directing the question to you.
We've answered that question at multiple meetings. So
Can you answer it again? You never, did anybody get a direct answer? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. We did not, I didn't ask you this. This is my first time asking you what this money is going to go to. Okay. You didn't say, does anybody know that answer? You never answered it. You never answered it. No, can you answer it again? This is a meeting. This is why we're here. The public is watching. Okay, so you can't tell the residents at home that are watching this what this extra money is going to. No? No, okay. And like she said, you're on borrowed time. So when this passes, don't think you're going to be. Would you stop hitting that damn thing?
You have the floor. People are talking while you're speaking.
What? So what?
People can't hear
You're
you.
not making it easier. You're not helping with that.
You have the floor.
That's fine.
You have
This
the
is
floor.
what we do. Because see, if you were a real president, you would know that. And it just makes it worse. Stop. Say what they say. You can't stop people from talking. This is not no damn military base where you have to listen to you. They're going to have their opinion. These are the taxpayers that pay you to sit there. It makes no sense that you keep hitting this damn thing all night because they're having an opinion amongst each other. If nobody at the podium is saying anything, why should you? Really? Really? You're making yourself look more dumber. And you, like she said, you're on borrowed time. You sit up there with your arrogant self like you're going to be here. No, you're not. The residents of Upper Darby Township are sick of you. I'm sick of all of you. You are on borrowed time. And what you're doing now is just helping us. Go ahead, pass it tonight. You're going to be in court again, losing again. Dumbasses. They sick. No respect. You're stealing from people I don't have.
Miss Taylor, Miss Nominov has the floor. Please give her the floor, please.
So I want to go back because I don't want to lose sight of this, that, we've made amendments to this. The one that was voted on by council on April 2nd. Yeah. So I want to know, nobody knows who posted it to the website, but who typed it? Who wrote 3189? Who wrote the one you wrote it? So did you write the new version? When did you write it? Of April 28th? Okay. And then you sent it to them? Okay. So, but nobody read it here? Like Mr. Gallagher, you decide to make the change. Who asked you to make the change? So can you use your mic because nobody can hear? Thank you.
I believe it was Rafe Cools who emailed me to ask for it. I don't know if he was getting direction because he usually doesn't make decisions himself, but he was the one who emailed me for it.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with him. Do you know what his position is?
She's a special assistant to the CAO.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you created this new one, April 28th. It was sent back to the township, and then somebody posted it on the website. Not voted on by council at all. That's what I thought. Okay. The other thing I got to say is, and I'm glad you guys cleared this up, Gordon, the 1% can go up. We're a home rule municipality. There's no cap for residents. There's only a cap for non-residents. And then I just want to talk about this tax would be 100% increase for me in my tax burden, maybe a little bit more, not exactly positive, but in that ballpark. So 100% tax increase for me. Now, if my sons had not moved out of the house, then for our family, it would have been probably 150, 175, 180% tax increase. That's unreasonable. And when the guy that was here, Max, I don't remember his last name, when the guy Max came and he asked you about the spirit, he asked each one of you if you thought having a 1% income tax was in the spirit of the rule that says you can't increase more than 5% of real estate property taxes, or there was another parameter, I don't remember what it was, but whether this tax was following the spirit of that, because the spirit of that was that there's not a huge tax increase on burdens on taxpayers. That's why they put that in there. So one year we don't pay $1,000 and the next year we pay $2,000. That was the reason. But yet you're doing it anyway. It's just because it's a different type of tax that you feel it's okay. But you're hurting, you say you don't want to hurt anyone. And I believe you're not trying to individually hurt anyone, but I don't believe, if you really didn't want to hurt anyone, I guess I got to ask this. So when was the version, the original 3189, when was that version written? Do you know, Mr. Gallagher?
It would have been before 4/2. I know that much. I'm just trying to find the specific
Okay.
date that I had sent it out.
So sometime before 4/2. And then that sometime in that late March, early April timeframe, that's when you guys had a conversation with Keystone, or somebody contacted Keystone to have them look it over afterwards. Is that correct?
Yeah, that conversation didn't include me, but
Oh.
I would agree with that. That
Okay.
sounds accurate.
But that's when they got involved was, okay. But so the original was written around 4/2 or in that ballpark. Okay. So I guess my question is, wait, so it had to be before 4/2 because that's the night you voted on it. Or not you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What council voted on it, sorry. So I guess my question is, I mean, we talked in February 19th. We had a public hearing and people talked about, having a low income exemption that was brought up. And, you passed that night without it and you were saying, well, we can do it later as an amendment. And that's proper. That's what you should do then. If you were, you wanted to pass it that night. But I guess my question is, if you really had an interest in having a low-income exemption, why didn't you write it in to the ordinance, the original version of 3189? You certainly were thinking about it in February. Does anybody know?
We're going to implement that in January. We did not write it in this version of the ordinance.
I understand that, but I want to know, did anyone think about it? Because it was thought about on February 19th. So there was no further thought until tonight? Because I don't know, Ms. LaRue, you brought that up tonight. Where did that come from? Was that your suggestion one of the suggestions you were talking about?
No, Joanne, just to give you some clarity, because on the behind the scenes of it, it was an idea originally, if you remember, because it's something that I misspoke because it was in the previous ordinance brought forward by the previous administration. And can I continue, please? I misspoke in the meeting and said that it will continue to this EIT. Following that, it was brought to my attention that I was not correct on that. The administration was trying to figure out if we can implement it. So we didn't have a definite until, I don't have the right date of when we found out it was a definite, but I do remember it being in April or March, where we were told that I was told it could possibly not impact folks that make less than, I believe, $12,000. It's not David Heyman.
Yeah, it was somebody. It was suggested either by you, I don't remember who, but somebody on council suggested that would be a good idea.
Yes.
And I know I've had the question in the past, and I spoke with Mr. Mann about this earlier, whether that was allowable, because we know it's allowable for LST, and it is allowable for EIT from the 2008 Act 32 changes. But I guess I'm just concerned because you talked about it February 19th. You knew at that date, I mean, it was confirmed. I mean, I confirmed it and I gave you the code. I'm pretty sure, I talked to Mr. Mann about it, but we did talk about it. We confirmed that it's in the Act 32 of 2008. So I'm not sure why. I just really still don't understand why it wasn't written in this one. So I'm just questioning whether, the people that are have very limited income, okay? It's gonna greatly impact them. And I told you about my friend who makes like less than $30,000 a year supporting two people. She can't afford to go to the grocery store. She has to get her food from food banks, or she calls me up and says, I need this, and this. And of course I'm going to help her. But my point is, some people are not comfortable doing that. And you know, if they had the money that you're going to take from their paycheck, it would limit how much they have to depend on others. It's just not right. And honestly, like there's the $12,000 going to do nothing for most people because it's not like the first 12,000 is exempt. It's like when you make 12,001, you pay it all. So it's going to help kids, which is good. I'm in favor of that. It's going to help some kids with summer jobs, babysitters. Babysitters probably don't know they got to pay it. But anyway, I just feel like you could address low-income people by lowering the rate, but you're not interested in doing that. And that's a shame. Let me just check my notes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mann, for coming, and Mr. Lazaro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do mine. I've been waiting a long time. I'm gonna go.
Spoken? Yeah, he has not
yeah.
spoken.
Spoken yet.
Please give him a chance to have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, I did have a couple questions. Some of them related to outreach. So like the one was specifically for like our immigrant business community. Like I know we have done some town halls. Have they been also in multiple languages yet? Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to make the recommendation that we should probably do that and especially have translators on site for that. I know that like as somebody who like runs a nonprofit, like right across the street, like I'm a business owner here, we will be subject to this. And I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that I come to these meetings a lot, like I probably wouldn't have known. So I just want to make sure that they have that information, especially when sometimes navigating the legal system is already like a scary process for a lot of our immigrant communities. So I just want to make sure that we provide that, even if it's just a town hall or something. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was, I just actually wanted to make, it was more so like a comment, but I wanted to appreciate Ed for what you were talking about with the property taxes, because I think my biggest concern has always been with the EIT is that we do have a lot of community members that are on fixed incomes. And I think we all say it all the time that like our property taxes are through the roof, right? We all say it, we all know it. It's the one thing that everybody can agree on all sides of the political spectrum. However, sometimes we don't really always talk about like how this fits into like the bigger picture of like where our township has to go moving forward. And specifically around the fact that Upper Darby is mostly a bedroom community and pretty reliant on property taxes. But when you talk about economic development, we talk about like property owners, we talk about businesses, we haven't seen much in the way of any real development. A lot of that is because of zoning. Anyone who knows me knows I never shut up about zoning, so I'm not going to go on about it. But even if we were to fix our zoning code, right, our property taxes are too high. We're just not competitive with a lot of the other markets. I mean, why build in Upper Darby when you could literally just go to Conshohocken? Like the reality is that a lot of times we're going to continuously be overlooked unless we reevaluate, which is I think where the EIT specifically comes into. And like, I probably no surprise to people that I am also running for office, but I can make the assertion that I have absolutely every intention. And it was, like I said, Ed, it was nice to hear you say that because we're going to find ourselves in quite agreement about lowering the property tax because there's no way, well, I am. And anybody knows anything about me, I'm not one to make promises that I can't keep. I think when we talk about economic development and investing in our community, the EIT allows us to bring in more workers into our township and actually raise revenue without raising taxes. Right now, the system currently is all we can really do to raise taxes is to just literally raise the millage rate for our property. If we don't, we could even bring in developers. We could even build new apartments. We can build new buildings. That'll take years and years and years. And in that time frame, before we're even realizing those property tax gains in just real normal value, we're going to have to increase the rate. with an EIT, we actually benefit from now filling those empty storefronts on 69th Street. Like, I don't even know. Rita, do we know what our vacancy rate is for retail?
No, I don't.
Okay, no worries. Sorry, and that was like an off the cuff question. But like those are like the things that like we go down to 69th Street, we're gonna see. You're gonna see the empty storefronts. Currently, Ashkenazi Acquisition Corporation just pays a flat value for their property. It has a property value. That's the property tax revenue we get. However, if we fill every single one of those storefronts and we employ people with an EIT, we actually make more money now. We're actually incentivized to increase and create a living environment that increases the salaries of the residents that live here. Because when Upper Darby residents do well, the township will do well because your wealth will be directly tied to the townships. With the property tax, like we've always said, it subverts that. It holds us back. I mean, this is just like my mental assessment of a lot of these things. I do think we need to, you know, maybe there needs to be some tabling to talk about the date change. I'm pretty sure I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't been following as closely as I probably should have as it relates to when something was submitted and when it went to second reading or et cetera. But looking at the April 3rd, I think it's April 3rd, April 2nd, sorry. April 2nd, the July 1st date change, that I'm gonna agree, that's substantial. So definitely probably we'll have to look at that. But just for the public, like I said, I know there's been a lot of lack of trust between community, elected officials recently. I really want to reiterate that I think this is an opportunity for trust building. Obviously, we've gone through a lot of contentious years. I think it starts with the community understanding why the EIT is necessary, but I'm pretty sure they understand why it's necessary at this stage. We've definitely done a lot of work on that front. I think it playing into that bigger role of there has to be balance. The property tax holds us back economically. Yes, we want zoning reform. Yes, we want economic development. We're not competitive. Property taxes do have to come down. That is the promise. Otherwise, this township goes absolutely nowhere if we do not adjust the property tax. Other question, last question, I promise. Is there any work or conversations around a property tax abatement at all yet? I know we will need permission and a carve out from the state.
We can get back to you on that.
Okay.
I just prepare for the earned income tax, but I will circle back to you on that.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry. I didn't mean to get off topic. That's all I have to say. I just wanted to say thank you guys for taking the time, to be here and to do this town hall. Thank you all for answering questions for the public. And thank you, Rita, as well, for all the work that you're doing. Hopefully that can be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Tunis, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment, please.
Public hearing, Elizabeth Gallagher, there's a motion on the floor to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
It's a violation of my rights again?
Please, let me ask the solicitor.
No.
She brought forward the Solicitor
Go ahead.
Gallagher. The Councilor Brandis brought forward a motion. Can you please explain the legal guidance?
All right, so under the rules of Robert's Rules of Order, excuse me, that is a motion which is in order, so you can consider it. Whether you want to accept it, that's an entirely separate issue.
So we
But
can go back
it
to
is
court again,
within
it's
the
fine.
rules of order, so you can make the motion. So then the next thing would be to second and vote on it.
So, okay, there's a motion on the floor.
Court again.
Is
I
there a
see.
second?
You're getting money out of him. Pay
Second
money for him
by
for the
Councilor
lawsuit.
Minnick.
Give money to him for the
Councilor Minnick.
lawsuits, and he gives it back to you for your reelection campaigns. I get
The
it.
motion's on the,
I get it.
it may not pass. Okay,
But I was up here before you made the motion. I
You're out
was
of
up
order.
here before
She
you
made
made
a
the
motion.
motion.
she made a motion. It has not been voted on yet. Please let the procedure continue.
Go ahead.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor made by Councilor
violent.
Brandis, seconded by Councilor Minnick. All right, can we have a roll call?
I know,
vote
they
on
didn't,
this?
they didn't work for us.
Get ready for the next lawsuit.
He won't be. We'll have the new
First
one by-
Amendment lawsuit.
We'll have the new one by then.
Okay, so, all right, Secretary Billups is, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong sheet.
See, Kyle, I shouldn't have let you go. No, it's not your fault. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Michelle, you just got power through.
Yeah, thank you. Secretary Phillips is wait, so yes,
Close the public.
yes to close the public and no not to, right? Okay. Secretary Phillips is a no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor, I'm sorry, I turned my mic off. Counselor Minnick? Yes. Counselor Wagner is excused. President Tunis?
I'm gonna say no.
Thank you.
Counselor Banto?
It's no.
Thank you.
Counselor Brandis?
I'm still going to say yes, but I do want to clarify it's because I do think that we should take a recess so we can discuss and get clarification from the solicitor. That's why.
Yeah, just let them speak. And then,
Recess without closing the public hearing.
you guys do not have the floor. You're out of order right now, okay? We're going through a motion. You're out of order. This is your first warning, okay? Miss Duggan, this is your first warning. I've been really nice and letting you guys talk, but it's getting out of hand. Okay? Can we proceed with the meeting? Can you please proceed with the votes?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Counselor Andrusko is excused. Counselor Wentz?
I'm a no.
Counselor Silva?
No.
Counselor Blackwell?
So the no is to let them continue to talk, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now go ahead, continue.
And
I didn't hear it. What did you say?
Counselor McNeil?
What did you say?
She said no. She said no.
No.
She said no. And Counselor McNeely, yes or no?
No.
Thank you, guys.
All right, proceed.
Thank you very much.
I want to clarify something because Councilwoman Branis did say something. If you want to take a recess, that's a separate motion. So you can make that motion too. That's just a separate item.
And I won't
separate
yell.
request.
Okay. Yeah, we just wanted to hear everyone
You
out.
can have it.
And then we'll
take
take a
break.
recess. Let's
Fine.
continue with the
You want to
public
take a
hearing.
break? It's fine. I don't mind. But, you can't close it. We have to come back.
Again, this is your second
Why
one.
would we not come back? Why
I'm
would we not come
speaking
back?
at the mic.
Why, no. Why? I'm not antagonizing anybody, but
No, you're not,
I had
Michelle.
a question. I just
I
want
like
to know,
you.
why would we not come back?
What? Oh,
No, I know. Right now, I need to go to the ladies' room. So I'm
Go.
going to go to the ladies' room.
go. You're good. Take it easy.
Please continue.
All right. I have a question for you, Mr. Gallagher. Since Crandall O. Jones, Chief Administrative Officer, is not here tonight, and I understand that he's on vacation. I don't know where he's on vacation. He will not be able to sign this, I assume, on the 8th of May, 2025. So does that change anything if he's not back within the amount of time to sign that? Does that have any effect on anything? Since he can't sign either the resolution or the ordinance? Not that I'm not allowed to talk about the resolution.
Well, ultimately, no. Because one of two things would happen. One is it's not attested, and someone else can attest in his place as long as Mayor Brown signs it. But if Mayor Brown decides not to sign it and 10 days pass, I believe it's 10 days.
He's going to be back in time. So what you're saying is he's going to be back in time.
All right, cool.
So,
Thank
okay,
you.
Then I guess that's the answer.
What happened? All right. Jess, you were talking about Philadelphia and how they have such a high rate. But do you know what their property tax is? So I already have a friend in Upper Darby that moved to Philadelphia because their tax burden is so much less than ours. It will be when we get to 1%. And
I
they see
think
it
it
coming and
depends-
they're like, I'm leaving.
I think it depends on where you live in Philadelphia.
No, I think the
And-
rate is the same, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And New Jersey property tax is very high. That's why they don't have an EIT, because their property tax is very high in New Jersey. I make $500 a month about. That's how much I earn. So you're going to take that $5 from me every month, so my poor little granddaughter ain't going to get her ice cream. But that's all right. Then the last thing I want to talk about for this time is changing the date on the ordinance from no date at all to July 1st is not a minor change. Now, you said, sir, and I'm not attacking you because you're not responsible for any of this mess. changing it to July 1st from no date is a major change. The proof of that is that already Upper Darby Township Payroll Department has been withholding Upper Darby EIT from some of their employees. They did not know when it was going to start. So even though you said that the intent was there to start July 1st, intent doesn't matter in the law. What matters is what the law says. So how do I know that they weren't going to start it? The intent wasn't to start it January 1st, 2026. They're just getting everybody prepared for it so we can all make our budgets. But instead, they're just jamming it down our throat.
Ms. Dugan, I'm not sure if you're correct on that. Ms. Duggan, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if you're correct on that. I think there was a line item in anticipation of us doing an EIT on the paychecks, but it was a zero item. It was no.
It was not a zero item, but that's okay. It was not a zero item, but you can check on that. I'm not incorrect. So that's not a minor change. It's a major change. So, if you guys vote yes for this, again, we're going to have to do something about that. Thank you.
I just have a really quick question for clarification. You said that 94% of municipalities in Pennsylvania have an EIT?
94% of local government.
Okay, so if that's true, then the anticipation would be that people they say it's to diversify the tax burden. But if 94% of the municipalities have an EIT, how is that diversifying? Because the majority of the people then that would come here to work would have an EIT where they live, so the burden would always be on the residents. Am I misinterpreting that?
No, the reasoning is sound, but the reason that it's true is among that 6% that doesn't have it, a lot of them are concentrated around here. So Haverford, Springfield, those communities. So the people, what's that? Does Springfield have it? Okay, my mistake.
Haverford
does
doesn't,
not.
you're right.
So you would have those communities, that's where you would pick up what we estimated around $4 million.
You think $4 million worth of people come from Haverford to work here?
From a variety, from a list of communities, we have that's a public document. You can look at where our estimates are from. What's that?
But if that is the trend that everybody's getting an EIT,
So,
so
yeah.
you're going to anticipation that there's going to be 100%, if it's 94 now, then
Yeah.
we're going to make it whatever that new percentage is goes on to. So then there's going to be no diversification and it is 100% going to be on the residents,
So
correct?
so if if all of the outlying municipalities or the large ones implement the earned income tax, then yes, you're correct. The thing about diversification, from my perspective, it can mean different things to different people. But diversification refers to the revenue funds it's a township perspective. So when a credit rating agency looks at the township, they say, where do you get your revenue from, right? And if it's two sources, earned income tax and real estate, that's the diversification advantage, right? They look at it as
Just different taxes. It doesn't care
Correct,
who,
yes.
doesn't matter who you're really taxing.
from their perspective, correct.
It's just a different kind of a tax.
Yep.
Okay. Too bad we don't have a cell phone tax for Upper Darby Township.
Mr. Lazaro, can you just tell us, give us a little overview on how residents will know about this tax and how businesses will know about this tax? And I'm not talking about just businesses like right around here. How will like businesses that are, in New Jersey or, other places that are not like really watching this meeting tonight, how will they know? Thanks.
We do a lot of outreach.
I'm sorry. Can everybody hear him? Okay.
Sorry, this keeps going off. We do a lot of direct contact. We will be sending information out to area businesses in the area. A vast majority of areas, we already handle those who have it in Delaware County and Bucks County and Chester County. All those businesses will be informed. We notify all the national payroll companies, all the regional payroll companies, and all the local payroll companies. We contact the tax preparers who are CPAs through the CPA Association. We do outreach through the chambers of commerce, So all their newsletters, all their information will have it, and they'll be receiving that information from a lot of alternative sources, in addition to electronic, I mean, on the website.
Are there going to be forms sent out, though, tax forms, physical forms, the first year to township residents?
Yes, they'll be sent out on a regular basis. Those forms are sent out every year.
Okay, but how will you know, like, which residents will you send them to? Like, what database? Like, are you going from Pennsylvania, like, you get the information from Pennsylvania income tax?
Department of Revenue.
Department of Revenue
Yes,
assignment, yeah.
that's correct.
Okay. So then I also want to ask, what's I gonna ask? Shoot. Give me a second.
Sure.
Well, I can't remember, but it was another, here it is. So if they sign this, if they pass this tonight and sign it, when will Keystone be told? I know it goes to DCD has to be notified.
That's correct.
What's the process? So what's the timeline for that? So I know Mr. Damazzi talked about a timeline about like appeals times and all that. So I want to know, when are you going to notify people? If this passes tonight, what's your timeline for notification?
Well, we take our direction from the administrator of the township. So whatever, again, all we do is administer the tax on your behalf. Our job is to carry out every step, and we have a transition period as the tax comes in, and we will be following, we'll make recommendations, but we'll follow the guidelines of the township.
Right, but I guess my concern is that if there's a 30-day,
Which may be why they ask us to hold off and do it all after that 30-day period. I don't know. I have to follow what.
now, do you know, but DCED has to be notified before June 1st.
Yes.
And then what if something happens, and so DCD sends notices? I know they they update their website, because they take that time to update their website with the tax rate changes.
If something were to change, then we notify everybody it's changed.
Okay, all right. All right. Yeah, just my big concern is I don't think people are going to know. And I've heard a lot of stories from people in, I think like Lansdowne and Yaden, places like that, I think they have it, where they got a tax bill like 3 years later, and they never knew about the tax. I guess it wasn't being taken out of their paycheck. Maybe it was, and they didn't know that they had to file a tax return because they never got anything.
That sometimes happens. We do send them out to everybody.
On paper.
Well, unless they request to have it electronic. A lot of people want to have it electronically, and they e-file from that point forward.
Right, exactly.
But if they want paper, they get paper. And we already have the information. Obviously, when the payroll's withheld, the names are attached to that, and we make sure everybody gets the final returns or the quarterly returns, whatever.
Yeah, I know. Okay, just the other thing is, I guess I'm concerned because there's not a lot of time for employers to implement anything. We're at May 8th, and they want to start collecting July 1. It gives them not much time.
Yes.
But I'm concerned that a lot of small employers a lot of people do their own payroll, so it's like they're not going to really understand exactly what to do.
Yes.
I don't know. I just think it's not enough time.
We do a lot of training, and we have a business portal, and we have a whole team that will basically hold your hand and walk you through the process. It isn't difficult. Once we get you set up,
I know.
Once you get you set up and you're connected to the portal, it's a push of a button.
Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with it, but
okay.
I know a lot of people aren't.
Yeah,
okay.
They will be if this occurs. Then we'll make sure they're well educated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is so. I got to just say this. So, Mayor Brown, you said that it was being put into zero for Upper Darby. It in fact wasn't. The resident on your Upper Darby Township paychecks that you gave to people, resident municipality EIT said zero, and Upper Darby said Upper Darby EIT the amount you withheld. And it's like you have a problem in your payroll department if they don't know obviously, I think, it's my opinion, and I don't really know for sure because I've only seen some of the paychecks, that it's happening to people who already had an EIT taken out because their home municipality where they live has it. But for Upper Darby to not know that a non-resident of Upper Darby, it should never say Upper Darby EIT. And I can tell you that I do understand that if there's a mistake made, that Keystone Collections does know how to talk to different municipalities. I know that. But it should never happen, especially in this township. You're the one instituting the tax, and it shouldn't have happened here, but it did.
So if you want to give me a name, I'll be happy to research it, but I'm not aware
No, I don't need to give any names.
Okay, well, then
but-
you're making a statement that I can't verify, so how do I answer that?
Well,
And
wait a
my
minute,
statement
let
that I
me-
made earlier,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you that it was brought up on April 2nd and it happened and it needs to be addressed. And all you need to do is look at the non-residents that live in municipalities that had an income tax before. It's happening to them. So it's not just one name. It's a lot. It's more than one name. But thank you.
Laura Wentz, concerned person, and since it's already been mentioned by another individual, I've been on council since 2018, and I am running for re-election. That aside, Mayor Brown, you made a campaign speech October of the year you were running too at a council meeting. Just to be clear, you set the example. So there have been questions that you won't answer about how will the funds be used. Well, in the different town halls, depending on who was there, depending on what the answer was. In some situations, it was where you needed to replenish the fund balance, the rainy day fund, the balance, the savings account, basically to make sure that if there was an emergency in the township, that we had the funds to pay our bills for at least 3 months. My understanding, it would need to be around 15 million. Unfortunately, in the creation of the current 2025 budget, $10 million was taken from that fund balance to balance the 2025 budget that we're in right now, which I believe dropped the cash flow in the fund balance to about 2 million, which is not going to pay for a single month worth of bills in Upper Darby Township. Other times at town halls or other presentations, the answer was we need the funds to do capital improvements in the township. Well, over 13 million was set aside of ARPA funds to do just that. Granted, I do believe on capital funds, we need more than that, but in 2020, the fall of 2020, we did a bond for $10 million for capital funds. They were supposed to do 3 tranches. They only did the 1 because in 2021, the ARPA funds came along. So we have done, around the 10 million chunk of money, $10 million set aside for capital improvements. That has been done in the past. But at no point in time during that time in 2020, earned income tax was not mentioned. In fact, this year, 2025's budget is about $15 million more than the 2024 budget. There have been services cut over the last here as well as the past mayor. Example of those services. When I was on council in 2018, we got a calendar. I understand why former Mayor Keffer didn't necessarily want to do the full calendar. I understand that, but she at least did newsletters. But on that calendar information was a schedule of street sweeping throughout the entire township. So residents would know what day within a month or a week that a street sweeper would come down their street. Everyone knew that. Everyone knew when to move their cars because it was on the calendar. The street sweeper's coming. Move your cars out of the street. That's a service. That does not happen anymore. That's a service that's been cut. It got cut during Mayor Keffer's reign. It was actually cut around the time that there was a pilot program of street sweeping for a couple's selection of streets in the 7th district, which somewhere along, great for those residents, but then everyone else in the township did not get a regular street sweeping either. We've gone 6 months without seeing a street sweeper. Some residents have not seen a street sweeper in years down their street. That's a service that was cut. In fact, at the beginning of this year, residents have asked multiple times, will you be sending out a newsletter? Will you be sending out a newsletter? Will you be saying, oh yeah, we're working on it. And then finally, CAO Jones said, no, we're not sending it out. It's too expensive. That's a service being cut. On that, for people there are people in our township that do not have internet, that don't have access to, don't have a computer and don't have access to the internet. And they don't have access to the holiday schedule or when trash collection is for them, or they're new, or they speak a different language and they don't have knowledge of those things. I know you guys are talking.
No, you have to keep it to the earned income tax.
It is all connected
you
to
go
the
back-
earned
if you
income
could-
tax because the 1%, because I'm
you could
answering the
circle back-
question on where the funds are going.
This is a public hearing.
It is a public hearing, and I'm speaking on where the funds are going, but as an example.
Is this a point of order, Councilor Bento? All right.
Okay.
So, Councilor Wentz has the floor. There's a point
You
of
want
order.
me to bring it back to earned income tax? Yes?
Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
Councilor Wentz has the floor. This is a public hearing on the earned income tax. Councilor Bento has a point of order. What's your position?
So I want to sit here, Councilor Wayne is misleading public.
But, so, okay.
You are misleading the public.
Okay, but that's just your comment. This is probably, point of order is more procedural, so if it's like, so, from the EIT, okay. Councilor Wentz, if you can just comment on the EIT.
Sure, I'll bring it back around.
Yeah.
I'll bring it back around.
Yeah.
So my question, so the earned income tax will bring in for the first half of the year, 6 to 9 million approximately to help fund the budget. Right? Or actually it wasn't included in the budget, even though we're 15 million over previously, right? So 8 to 9 million is going to come in. There have been no clear clarifications on where exactly the funds are going. The mayor wouldn't answer the question this evening, and every time it has been asked, it keeps changing. I was just pointing out that there, in my opinion, of course, it has changed. It has been about the fund balance. It has been about capital improvement. Those are the things I've heard. Those are changes. Those are, depending on the meeting, it's a change.
Would you like an answer?
Sure.
Because that's not true. At the town halls, we gave a listing of things we was doing with the EIT, a number of items. And so you're naming them individually, like we said at this meeting, only this is the only thing we're going to do for the EIT. And at this meeting, we said, we're only going to do that. We named a bunch of things that we planned on doing with the EIT, and you're ticking them off one at a time as if we are given a moving target. That's not true. You had your own town hall you did not attend, and I understand you were sick, but you didn't attend any of the other town halls. So that is not accurate that we said something different at each of the town halls as far as the utilization of the EIT. I attended all of them,
Okay.
and I answered it at each of those town halls.
You did not attend the town halls I attended. So I do concede your point as far as I did not attend every single town hall. I did attend 2 town halls that you yourself were not at. And at those 2 town halls, so I was physically at 2 town halls, and when I was sick, I did take part virtually by watching Miss Duggan's Facebook Live of the town hall at Highland Park. And that's when it was discussed about capital improvements. And the two ones that I attended in the summertime focused on the fund balance. As replenishing the fund, there was a whole presentation on replenishing the fund balance. So those were the two main ones that's like, you weren't there at the town halls I was at. You weren't at every town hall. You may, and I acknowledge the fact that I was not at all of the town halls either. So, but the two that I was at, you weren't. And you, the ones that you attended, I was not. Okay, great. So, so I just to point out, services have been cut, taxes are higher, earned income tax will add more taxes to the township. And I do have to clarify something I said earlier. I am a union stagehand. I believe workers should get raises on a regular basis. I do have concerns about how, while implementing an earned income tax, unions negotiate tax increases, or wage increases in their contracts. And then when the municipality adds an earned income tax on it, within that municipality, that it would be a 1% decrease equivalency on their wage increase. That's a concern. I do think everyone should have raises regularly. I do think that the township, our minimum income, our minimum wage is way too low. So just wanted to clarify that. Yeah. Okay. And then to answer a question of another individual, the township's tax abatement is 5 years.
Thank you. Are there any further members of the public that would like to comment on ordinance number 3189? Are there any further members of the public that would like to comment on ordinance number 3189? Are there any further members of the public that would like to comment on ordinance number 3189? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilor Phillips, seconded
Second.
by Councilor Brannis. I'd like to take a 5-minute recess. Can I have a motion for that?
Motion to take a 5-minute recess.
All in favor? Motion made by, is there a second? I'm sorry.
I second it.
All right, second it. We'll take a 5-minute recess and reconvene at 9:05.
I did.
She seconded. Phillips. I think two people said at the same time. Is that a name?
Can we order some chicken wings? Okay. Am I supposed to go back there? Am I supposed to go back there?
This is entertaining. Is it? It's my birthday. It's my birthday. I'm happy to be celebrating my birthday here. These wonderful people trying to get on. It's her birthday too. It's her birthday too. You thought I was supposed to be. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just have to make sure Kate's back, just to make sure we have a timer and everything on. Yeah. Yeah. So, we've concluded the public hearing. Now it's a request for council to approve ordinance number 3189. Councilor Phillips, I see you have your hand up.
Yep. I got my hand up as well.
She 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 did. She did.
Mine
have-
was first.
She did
Mine
have her
was
hand up
first.
first.
Mine was first.
Councilor Phillips, and then Councilor Blackwell.
So thank you, President Tunis. So, I would like to make a motion to, amend, I don't have my glasses on, 3189, including using some of the suggestions that, one of the residents made, and making sure that the spelling is correct and the text information is correct, and then to table this for tonight.
I'm gonna second it.
Okay, there's a motion made to table. We just need clarity on the amendments. We're also accepting, acting CEO Rita's suggestions, as well as, and I'm guessing including some verbiage regarding which resident? Yeah, they got to
Yeah, well, she's not here.
regarding social security. people that-
No, of course, regarding social security and, low income people and people with disabilities, but also I believe Miss Galt, I think her name was. Yeah, I think she had some wonderful, suggestions too. So if we can, put that in there, ensure that all the information is correct, all the Ts are crossed, all the Is are dotted, and the spelling is correct. I think we can bring this back correctly.
One question.
Yes.
May I just interrupt for 1 second? There is one item, and I wouldn't interrupt other than because of what was just mentioned. So when you look at the ordinance, it is being enacted pursuant to the Local Tax Enabling Act. And I understand that this is complicated, but that's why there are tax lawyers and that's why you have accountants, so on and so forth. But in the Local Tax Enabling Act, it specifically calls out the Tax Reform Code of 1971, which is Pennsylvania law regarding taxes and income taxes in particular as well. If you then go to that act, it then states that income is defined under the federal income tax code. So all of the definitions in the Pennsylvania Tax Act and the IRS tax code are captured in the Local Tax Enabling Act, which is the authority for your ordinance. So I understand that that's very complicated and in-depth, but by passing, if you do, this ordinance, you will be adopting all of those definitions. So anyone who needs to find out if there is a definition that includes them or not will need to reference those laws. And that's probably why you need an accountant, H&R Block, or whatever that might be when you do your taxes. But that it will already be included in your law if you pass this EIT.
So then, okay, I heard what you say. I heard you said that, it's a specific tax code that is inclusive of all those things that everyone is saying. And I get that, and I understand it. So, I don't know if you want to call this a compromise, but, maybe we can also add that tax law in there and then have one there and say, this includes X, Y, and Z. I don't know, because the reason why I'm saying it is because, I think, in my opinion, because I'm not a tax lawyer, I'm not an accountant or anything like that, but I think the way that I'm hearing people is they want these things explained. I think it's a great idea to put the tax code saying that encompasses all of that, you know. But my thing is, I just don't want this council and council after us to get sued, so to speak, not so to speak, to get sued because it's an ongoing issue. I'm gonna be honest, and I know some people might not might not want me to say this, but I'll be honest. I'm sick and tired of us getting sued for things on procedural matters that can be fixed. So if we can do that, we can put that in there to say what you're just talking about. But if you can say these codes include whatever, then I'm perfectly okay with that. That's just me.
Okay, just on a motion, can we rescind the, is there any way to rescind the part of the motion that references the resident suggestions? Because everyone didn't even read that. She said them and she gave it.
Sure,
No
I'm
one got a
okay.
chance to consider her her suggestions. It was
Yep.
verbally said, and I don't think it's fair for us to include that.
I'm okay with that.
In the
I'm okay.
amendment.
I will take that back. I will rescind that to say, because you're right, everyone didn't get a chance to read it and it's not fair to all of us up here. So I'm okay with that. I just think that if it includes that law that you're talking about and it says that encompass those X, Y, and Z, I think for me, that would be fine with me.
Would
So
you
I'll
look-
rescind that, yes.
And then would you willing to accept the amendments that CAO LaRue suggested?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes, and I'll second it.
and would you accept that as well?
Yes, I will.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to table. Is there any comment from members of council? Councilor Wentz? Okay, just make sure we have the timer.
Oh, okay. So I personally would want those with disabilities to be added to the ordinance. And what I think you just did was take that away.
I did not. What I took away was what Ms. Galt said. I did not take away what Ms. Mays said.
That's a written document. Shouldn't it go back to law and government and the finance committees to oversee, to look over this, to see if any of these suggestions would work?
Right now, we're tabling. If we want to add the suggestions, I would give councilors the opportunity, but every member of council didn't get to read that.
No, I didn't get to read it either.
Yeah, so I can't. Yeah, I
So
don't
you're
think-
speaking, but you want disability in it, but at the moment, until we have a chance to look over this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what, yes,
That, I
yes.
just was
yes.
confused.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Not trying to confuse anyone, but yes.
Councilor Silva?
What you're referencing here is where it says earned income and compensation as required to be reported to or as determined by the Department of Revenue under section 303 as an act of March 4th, 1971, BL 6, number 2, known as the tax reform code of 1971. I am guessing that that's a large document that would it be possible to
Councilor Silva, can you please use your mic?
I'm sorry. Would it be possible to briefly include what earned income is, or is that going to be kind of a vast definition?
It's lengthy, and the danger would be that if I summarized it, then it might not capture everything. And then the worst part of that, that's the lesser of the two evils. The worst part is that that specific section also references the federal income tax code and their definitions. So I would then need to summarize that code, which is even broader and more vast. And again, I would be afraid that I would have some sort of definition or summary that would not be all encompassing. So it really is a difficult task to do that without just using the call citations to each statute or code. I mean, I'd be certainly happy to walk through with anybody if they want to see that there's a certain summary version of each that would be acceptable, but I would certainly want to have Keystone Collects involved with that because I wouldn't want to take away anything that could either reduce a tax burden or alleviate it from someone who shouldn't have it alleviated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of, okay. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, there's a motion to table this ordinance with the amendment of adding the acting CAO suggestions and adding, reviewing some language and possibly adding some language regarding disability as well after council can review. Councilor Wentz?
I'm curious for the timeline for reintroducing the ordinance. Is there enough time to reintroduce an updated version and have the timeline of the date of July 1st still apply.
We're not concerned about July 1st. We want to get it right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you for that clarification. I just,
Yeah.
because we're talking about adding that as an amendment,
Right.
but if it doesn't apply, then we should, I just wanted to be.
Yeah, we'll just have to review, but I concur with the mayor as well as my colleagues.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm assuming you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I didn't want us to be set to that date if that date has to change. That's all.
Understood.
No, because I think right now, in my opinion, we doing our best to make this right. My personal opinion is I definitely think the EIT is needed, but we're not going to do it if it's not correct.
I don't want to.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to be.
That's
rude,
all I'm saying.
But Councilor Wentz had the floor. Councilor Wentz had
No,
the floor.
that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so no.
I just want to thank you all for coming to the conclusion that tabling was the best approach so that it can come forward correctly. So I do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. If there's no further comments on the tabling, can I have a roll call vote to table ordinance 3189 with the amendments suggested by acting CAO Ms. Rita LaRue?
Secretary Billups is a yes. Councilor Minnick? Councilor Wagner is excused. President Tunis?
Yes.
Councilor Banto?
Yes.
Councilor Brannis?
Yes.
Councilor Andrusco is excused. Councilor Wentz?
Yes.
Councilor Silva?
Yes.
Councilor Blackwell?
Yes.
And Councilor McNeely?
Okay. It will be tabled. The next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Make the
Motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.